Well, today's episode 2. We were going to do a big state of the game episode and actually talk about ranked and talk about like the weapon balance and the map balance and the agent balance and all that stuff. But one of our co-hosts had to actually qualify and can continue playing and continue competing. So we're not we skipped all that, and we're just doing news stuff. So we're gonna shove the whole state of the game aspect to like another week or two, because we have to fill in all. This week is now, it's now drama. Too much stuff has happened in between the whole state of the game part, what we're gonna do before, for what we're gonna happen now.
So we're doing now just like a VOD breakdown of Josh making it, or what?
We could do a VOD breakdown. I got my pop with comms too.
All right, pull it up.
Send it to me.
I have to give it a once over to make sure no crazy things were said about certain people that I don't know.
What was that?
You never know these days. Which guy?
King Vinny? Was that who was just owning you?
Oh, King Vinny on Fish Taco was owning us. Yeah, he was a one-man army. We were also trolling super mega hard on the first map as well, though. We got blacklisted by a team for trying to fix the mistakes that we made against King Vinny, and because we tried going to the same bomb site, spike site, my bad, 8 rounds in a row, they got really upset, and well, let's just say GG, one less scrim partner.
I mean,
What do you
honestly,
think was like your best win, Josh, in that run? Like when you guys won a game where you're just like, okay, we're definitely qualifying now.
When we were up like really badly against Oxygen on the first map on Pearl, we were like, okay, like this is in the bag. It was way too. It just everything was working for us, and it looked like we knew exactly what their game plan was. And it's not just like me knowing it; it was everyone on the team like understood what their game plan was and what our game plan was, and how we were going to execute it. So like once we're just like building this massive round lead, it was like, okay, like this is in the bag. And then we go to Sent Map 2, and then straight from pistol round, it's like, okay, like they're pulling out, like they're desperate, like they're doing the jet up. I don't know if you remember this, but like they do the thing where they dart gelato, and then they have the smoke go on top of like the one-way spot, and then the jet updraft dashes in and tries to spam with the dart, and then breach stuns the line as well. And we're like, if they're pulling this out on pistol round to try to gimmick around, and we're like literally prepared for it, and we just like punish them, it's like, how do you go into a game? You're like, I'm gonna go punch these guys in the face, and you get punched back like even harder, and it's like, what are you gonna do at that point? So at that point, we were really confident, and then I think people started tasting victory before it happened, so they started mounting a comeback on us.
Dude, what do you think of that jet updraft in the smoke play, by the way? You mentioned that. I think I was kind of roasting him a little bit for that, because it's like a gimmick play that everyone in the upper echelon of the scene is ready for. Like the second like the dart is thrown, everyone's aware of that possibility now.
The way I look at it is, it's like one of those, you pull it out like once a game type of gimmick when you need to kind of like, you're kind of desperate, or you have like a lot of rounds to play with, and you're just trying to like, snowball, or like the enemy team has a bunch of ults. I think that's when you can whip that out. I think it doesn't really make sense to do it. They did it like 3 times to us. And the reason why we were prepared for it is because they did it at least like 3 times the previous team that they played, and then 3 times the previous team before that. So it's like, if this is like one of your core things that you whip out, 20% of the time, people are going to be expecting it. But if you just whip it out like, less than 10% of the time, like, once in a blue moon, maybe a pistol round here, maybe like when you have jet ulti there, maybe when the enemy has like lots of ultis there, and you just kind of like mix it up when you pull it out, I think that's what makes it good. But when you just like use it as like, this is like one of our core things to get us rounds, I think that's when you start running into big problems.
Do you think that more teams are going to look for more gimmicky plays these days? I mean, I think of like back when you and I were teammates, it didn't seem like many teams had super gimmicky like one-off plays like that. At least if they did, I can't really put my finger on any that I really remember like, oh man, this team is doing this, like we have to be careful. Minus like the GMD flash from mid on Ascent to Cat, and we just couldn't hold it like 10 rounds in a row.
Yeah.
Do you think more teams are like trying to find these like gimmicks and then throw them in for the miracle rounds?
So the way that I look at it is kind of like we're allowed to talk about CS on the show, right? In
Sure.
CS, you know how like when people would discover like a new one-way, so Inferno Car at Banana, there would be a one-way smoke, and then people would like always, where is he? I don't know where he is. But then like 1 week later, everyone knew exactly where that smoke was going, and where the person could be, and where they could see through the smoke and everything. And then like once that one-way smoke comes, it's like boom, double HE. So in this game, I think we're gonna see a lot of similar things with regards to that, where you'll have these gimmicks and they'll work, but once everyone's seen them like over like a period of a week or something like that, everyone's going to know to use them, everyone's going to know how to deal with them, and then like they're going to be fizzled out. So I think what teams are going to do is they're going to find their gimmick and they're going to pocket it, and they're going to use that in like the tournament finals, and then they're going to lose before they can use it. And then the meta's going to change, the map's going to be removed, and the new agents are going to be put in the pool, and then we'll never see them.
Yeah, I was going to say, doesn't that only apply really if the meta stays the same and you see the same type of agent compositions all the time? Because once the meta changes, the gimmicks won't be as apparent because they're not going to be available at the same rate.
It's possible. I mean, anything's possible. I just feel like gimmicks in this game, you just... Like, I remember when I first started playing this game and I was watching the pro matches and I saw like Ascent every round. Omen was holding flash for B main or A main and just chucking it deep. And this was like the most cookie cutter stuff. Everyone was just rushing off barrier. I think since then, people have definitely improved in the game, and people aren't doing like these off barrier pushes, off barrier rushes and stuff like that. And there's like more defaults, and the rounds play out longer, and then there's more stall characters and everything. So I think as the game evolves, we're going to see things coming in and moving out of meta. So things... For example, once Chamber got eliminated from meta, we started seeing a resurgence of, you know, first strike era compositions. So you can go back, if you still have your strat book from back then, you could be like, guys, look at what worked for us back then. We can use that again now. And these kind of like ebb and flows happen all the time in these metas where things will work for a time, then they won't, and then people are going to forget about them, or there's going to be a resurgence because certain agents get buffed or whatever, and then they're going to come back into meta.
It goes with what I feel like you and I our team at the time had the talk of like teams that have been a roster for a long time definitely have an advantage. You know, if you've been a team for the same roster since the beginning of Valorant and you're able to go back and, you know, run some strats you used at first strike, or run some strats even when like Phoenix was in meta, even though you might not play Phoenix anymore, you know, those strats can and probably will. Yeah, exactly. So are there really any rosters that have been around since then? I can't think of any that hadn't gone through a roster change, especially now with franchising.
There might be. I think most teams, especially recently, have changed with this since franchising, but I think last year, even as early as last year, there were a lot of teams that at least had like a core 3 and maybe like core 3 plus coach, so they probably had a lot of systems in place that were the same. But yeah, like there's been a lot of chopping and changing, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's more coming out around the corner with the, you know, last two teams making it. If I don't know, maybe teams want to be like, well, I really like this guy from this team that didn't qualify.
Yeah,
who knows.
I mean, it's NA, especially. We could probably see roster changes in the next month or two. Not your team, of course, not you guys, but everybody else. As soon as Challenger starts, as soon as a couple teams start losing the first couple games in either VCT, whoever goes out in the first bracket of Lockett and Sao Paulo, which we'll be talking about a little bit later, I guarantee there's going to be at least one franchise team that makes a roster change based off their losing in Sao Paulo.
All three regions, or like one per region, or one specifically for the Americas?
I really feel like North America is the most susceptible to overreacting to losing.
Like all three?
But I can see it in each region. I think North America has the highest chance of making changes, though. The teams within North America.
I feel like it's so... You can go. I just feel like it's so brain dead to do that, but I mean,
I'm not saying it's smart. I'm just saying how
other
esports
decisions that were
goes.
made. I'm not putting it against.
Yeah, I'm not saying
anybody
it's a smart decision, but this is how esports happens. You go to a tournament, you lose one match, and now that we're going to have a 32-team single elimination bracket where you lose one best of 3 and you go home, yeah, there's going to be a couple teams that completely overreact to their one loss, and they're going to make roster changes even though they should not do so. This is how esports runs.
I am ready to move to India, by the way.
Me too.
You're ready to move to India?
Josh, you want to start a team in India?
I think that's only one import slot, right?
I mean, we could do it. We're so old. We basically count as a half a player at this point, so we make one together. No.
I don't know if I want to entertain this like train of thought about any of this, but okay, let's move.
You guys
Let's
say
move
this
on.
now, but Global Esports is going to make the final of Sao Paulo, okay? You guys laugh, you guys joke, you just wait till Aaron gets his hands on that team. All right, him and SK Rossi are going to get to the finals. You just wait.
Okay, I'm just waiting.
I'll do it like an actual intro to the show to kind of explain what we're going to do. One, Sliggy
Please.
is not here. He is MIA. But rumor is he's currently performing the Heimlich maneuver on the perennial chokers in esports right now. He is riding that horse. We hear he's going to be back soon. Not quite sure when that is, but you know he's up to no good. On today's episode, we will dive into the controversial VCT lock-in Sao Paulo format and a look at the upcoming year with our very special guest. And newly assigned global head of Valorant esports, Leo Ferreira. He will be on in about 2 hours from now, and we'll get to talk to him all about the format, all about the bracket, all about the rest of the year, Masters, Champions, and everything else we want to know from him going on this year. The Guards triumph in Challengers for all Challengers teams everywhere, beating the 2 franchise teams. At the Ludwig Tarek Invitational, and ShahZaM's choice words towards Sentinels and Shroud, which was quite entertaining this week. Can't lie. Gotta love that Twitter drama. Very entertaining for all of us. But really, I did want to begin really with you, Steele. I am so proud
I think
of
you began by leaking something, but okay, thank you.
You know, that's kind of what I do, you know?
I guess so, yeah.
That is what he's.
That is
The
true.
weakest fault.
And you wonder
what
why
I
I
do.
don't tell you things when you just pester me like a nagging mother. Why I'm not like telling you, just spilling everything I know.
You don't got anything going on.
This is going to be
all right?
trickling out, dude.
Your boss is going to be coming on the show hopefully soon anyway, and he'll leak everything to me anyway. I don't need you, Josh, okay?
Josh has called you a nagging mother like 3 times in the last week.
Am I wrong though?
You're not
Honestly,
wrong.
you're kind of right.
We are part of the tribe, okay? We
Okay.
kind of have it in our blood.
You can keep
to
forcing
be
this
like that.
narrative, but okay, sure.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So
I'm trying to compliment you, okay? I wrote the show to give you all the props. Out of everyone here, we have a bunch of retired guys and you who refuse to quit, who will continue to compete and wanted to redeem yourself, and you've done so. And how do you repay me? By talking shit to me, which I expect, and
the classic guilt trip. Yep.
I understand.
True.
I get it. I get it. But it really was honestly very cool to see you qualify and to bring DSG to the promised land. And I mean, that is true. I do feel like you have told me, you know, like off the air, that you feel like this is an opportunity for you to kind of redeem yourself, a theme that I think is kind of you've had to done a few times in your career. I want to know, do you feel
I
like
thought that was off the record.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're leaking even more.
Do you feel like people have been writing you off too easily?
No, I think everyone's made the most fair and perfect assessments possible. I think they've judged everything squarely on everything that's important, which is the 2022 results, which were pitiful, and rightfully so. The last 14 years of me being in esports completely written off, I think that makes total sense because who cares about those olden days? They're not the golden days. These are the golden days right now. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Look, this wouldn't be a banger podcast without me just asking this question. Who are the 3 people to blame for 2022? Just throw them under the bus right now.
You said I got the job, but look at Sean. He's doing way better than I am.
Let's begin the roast
Slasher,
of Q1 right here.
Obama, Trump. Like, I don't know which 3 of like potentially like 5 people could I throw under the bus? But like, it's
not
like,
David Dennis, me Obama, but not David Dennis. How is this possible?
Okay, look, I'm not in the business of throwing people under the bus. You know,
you would never do that.
I might have in the past.
You've
once or
matured.
twice. I don't remember. Okay, who have I thrown under the bus really in the past?
Dude,
I ate shit for like a
soundboard.
year and a half with this 100 Thieves fucking drama thing.
That
Can I
is
swear
true.
on this podcast?
Nobody can stop you at this point.
Okay,
Yeah, it's just go ahead. You're unhinged.
It's the Band-Aid
What
of-
about 100 Thieves? Josh and Spencer, you want to
What about 100?
give some insight?
What about it? Let's
No,
hear it.
Hiko's got more insight on that stuff than I do.
Well, you got different insight too.
I have different insight. Yes, I do. But let's hear your side of it. I've heard my side. I haven't heard yours.
What side do you want me to leak here?
Yeah, you guys were going into LCQ 2021, champs on the way. Like, just like solidifying ourselves as like legends in the game, and then all we've done is solidified ourselves as retirees. And by we, I mean you.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened? Why did we decide that
You need to go.
I needed to go
That
at that moment? At that moment. At that moment in time.
Well, unfortunately, when not everybody agrees on a roster move, sometimes the decision is out of your hands, unfortunately, and things need to change in order for other people to agree to continue playing. So, things had to be done. Trying to stay very political here. Things had to be done in order for
And Slasher wonders
our
why I say
team
Obama
to continue.
and Trump and stuff like that. It's
Yeah,
like,
that's a much better
it's all
answer. That's definitely
politics out here.
controversial.
This is the awkward conversation between like the exes in like a relationship. Like, why did we break up? Well,
Honestly,
yeah.
I mean,
I just put him on the
I
spot.
never-
like
It's the
that.
best relationship you've ever had.
I mean,
You let it all go. Even
like,
Sean's
no.
new relationship couldn't fix it.
I mean, I think I'm the person here out of anyone that will probably ever be on the. Oh, I don't know about ever, but I mean, I've been on teammates with both of the old men in this call. And then
Bofa?
you just been around, Rod. You've just been doing your stuff, but I don't think I have very much bad blood with any of my ex teammates. Maybe a couple, but like especially Josh and Sean, like I was always cool with. I think Josh and I were the closest. I think I was closest with Josh, and Josh was closest with me out of everyone on the 100 Thieves roster. Would you agree, Josh?
I mean, probably, yeah, but it's most likely because we're both old.
Yeah, maybe I had.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're from the old guard out here. You know what I'm saying?
Wrong. Yeah.
we don't know about this anime. Well, you know about anime now, I guess.
I'm a weeb now. I'm a
No,
big
that's
weeb.
literally how we set up like strats. Where like boomers go here and zoomers go there. Like that was literally our strat names.
dude. So when on your guys' current team, Josh, what are the ages?
Youngest is 19. Clear is 19, and then between the rest of them, they're all like between 2 and 24, I believe.
Okay.
And then I'm just here raising it up. 33 out here, and then I think Ocean's like 36 or something. So he's like mega old.
Oh, I forgot Ocean is your guys' coach too.
Ocean's like mega old.
Yeah, he's a great coach to have, I think. So after practice, like what happens after practice? Does everyone just like disperse? Because something that happened on 100 Thieves, since they were all kind of like in that same range, they would just like linger and like watch shows and stuff. I just thought that was such a cool vibe.
I remember back in the day, I'm really going to bring out the back in the day right now, but back in the day, that's how we used to be, right? Like everyone would be there because they wanted to be there, put the time in because, you know, they were all like striving for something the same. And we had like similar interests with TV shows, movies and everything. And I think now with like this disparity, you have like 10 years difference. Like people have different interests. Like I listen to classic rock. Some of these kids have no idea any of the references I'm making to movies, TV show, pop culture, anything. Like I'll sing like lyrics from a song because they'll say something and they'll be like, what is that? So it's like so hard to connect with. So like a few of us do linger. Sometimes we play like Dota together or something, or sometimes we just shit talk. But other people go their separate ways. But I remember like when I was on 100 Thieves, for example, with Spencer, it's like Austin always went to, you know, his friend group, and then Nitro would go to his friend group and everything like that. And I think it's cool if everyone could, you know, create this as like their friend group is their team as well, or like have some overlap. But I don't think as well it's the end of the day if there isn't overlap. If people are like friends in a professional manner and then they have their own like cliques or whatever that they go to after, I think that's also fine. But it's definitely harder to build chemistry in that way. And there might be something else that you need to do to kind of create that chemistry, like reaching out on a one-to-one basis or something like that, or just like trying to encourage people. I know for like these other games that happened after we had already qualified, we tried to just get on together and just like watch the games together, you know, instead of just like watching it with different friend groups. Because even like that small thing is enough to just hang out outside of prac.
That is true.
That's a good way.
I never like actually drew that conclusion. Like back in our day, I know this is like Sean and Mai's day when Sean and I were teammates. What year is that, Sean? 2014, 2013?
We're looking at some pictures
like
on Sean's stream with you guys.
You're 2012 to
1993.
2015.
1993. No, I think it was like 2015, 2014. But like, no, what Josh said is true. Like back in that day, Sean, like me, Sean, Brax, Semphis. Who's our fifth at the time?
Anger.
Jordan.
I remember
Jordan.
because if you oh yeah, Jordan too. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, so like I even like before that with like I'm sure you remember Josh, like TCK and Dazed and
yeah,
like we would end practice, bro. Everyone would stick around for hours and we just hang out, have fun, play Dota. At that time, I mean even
Han.
100 Thieves, Han. 100 Thieves, you and I were queuing like Dota
turbos, yeah.
Turbo, yeah. But it's like, yeah, now, especially if there's such a big age disparity, I feel like even when I was the young kid on the teams, I always like forced myself to want to hang out with the older experienced people. Like when I was on a team at the end of 1.6 in CS with like Fraud and Storm, they were, you know, pushing late 20s. I was like early 20s. I remember like I went out of my way to like want to hang out with them. And now it's like, it feels like everybody does have their own little cliques and everyone would rather like go and hang out with their little, like their group of friends instead of like not. It's weird. It's weird how times changed.
I think it was also easier to stay in touch when we were younger. I think about it now, like how I used to be and how I used to like message everyone and always like be on, and now how I just don't reach out to people, not because I don't want to, just because like I'm busy. Like if I'm not at my PC, I'm busy, and if I am at my PC, it's usually like practice or it's like preparing for practice. You know, it's something like that. So yeah, I just don't have really the time to just be like, yo, let's kick it. But yeah, I mean, I played with, like, we had a lot of the same, like, the three of us intersect a lot because, like, I remember if I had joined you guys, I wouldn't be banned from Valve events right now. You know what I mean? But you guys decided that you were gung-ho on a certain player, and I said, well, I don't want to play on the team with him, so I'm gonna roll the dice with these guys because I know what I'm going in for.
I couldn't remember. Why didn't we pick him up, Spencer? Was it that he wasn't smart enough and skilled enough? Like it was probably a combination of it all, right?
I think it's because Anger had a huge personality.
Yeah, it was a very big personality.
So, but I remember like, yeah, we would always like play like Han, or like I remember I played like all sorts of games with all of them. And if we weren't playing games and we were like either like watching shows or like talking about shows or something like that, or just playing, just usually just playing other games though, or just playing CS itself or whatever. So it's just so much easier back then when you have all that free time though, and you just have like nothing else, like literally just eat, sleep, game. That's your life. It's easier to do that, and it's easier to stay in touch with people and stay in touch with a lot of people.
Yeah.
Josh, I know you've only been with your Toast teammates for like a month or two, but do you feel like you have like a better cohesion with them than you did in your time on T1?
Yeah, I'd say probably also more than on 100 Thieves as well. This is like closer to like chaos and closer to like the old like torqued rosters and stuff like that. In terms of everyone's like, there's no like hierarchy that people like build in their own head where it's like, oh, this person's like authority, I can't like, well, whatever. It's like everyone can say whatever to anybody. Anyone can talk back to anyone. Anyone can give feedback or criticism to anyone. And I feel like just having everyone's being able to provide input and talk and not feel like, oh, I can't say this to Steele because he's the IGL or something. It's like, that's so cringe when people kind of feel that way. And I think this is much better for like vibes and everything if everyone just like is able to be like, oh, this guy gave me criticism and I see like they did something wrong here, so I'm going, oh no, am I AI? Ah!
You're better now. You're better now.
I'm better now?
Yeah, you're better now.
Yeah, it's probably, let's blame it on Cox.
Huh?
The IFT, COA. Okay, anyways.
Do you feel like this is because of the players themselves specifically, or is it also because like an org like Chaos and now with Toast is more of like an up and coming org, and you're like you're punching up, you're trying to get to that next level, where an org like T1 and 100 Thieves, there's more expectations from you because you're on a more premier organization and the stakes are higher?
So there's less pressure, is what you're saying.
I mean,
yeah,
there is less pressure, but I don't think it's an org thing. I think it's a player thing. I think part of why people may have felt like that on T1 or maybe even 100 Thieves is maybe because there was more expectation, or there was like this whole like, well, on T1, for example, there was like the coach was building the roster and the coach was in charge, and he was the boss, and he was going to give like the feedback to the players and stuff like that. And you know, I was basically told, not basically, I was told like, let me deal with giving people feedback and you just, you know, chill. I think here we don't have that. You know, Ocean as the coach is, you know, from back in the day as well. So we kind of operate the same way. I always felt weird how like the coach interaction in Valorant played out versus how, you know, for majority of my career, interactions would happen within a team. So even when Ocean's there, it's like, yeah, like if you guys want to talk it out, we'll talk it out. Like I'll come in here, but you know.
Yeah, it's definitely.
Oh no, am I super laggy still? My bad, guys.
A little bit, yeah.
It's definitely a lot different these days, and yeah, you're a little choppy, but all good. The hierarchy and stuff is so different, right? Like you don't know if you can trust the people in charge. You can trust the players on your team because you're with them so much that you just grow a level of trust. Like, okay, they're not going to cut me tomorrow, but I agree. Like, you don't know what the higher ups are thinking. It's much more like a traditional sports team where you feel a little bit fearful if you have a bad performance. Like, it's very performance based, which it should be, I guess, to an extent. But it puts a lot of pressures.
The owners and general managers have way more you know, in charge of a team than the players do. You know, back in the old days of esports, the 5 players definitely determined who gets kicked and who, you know, who joins. And that still kind of happens now, but now it's much more on what the owners want to do and what the general managers want to do in terms of roster changes than the individual players. Star players still have big influence, you know, kind of like traditional sports. If you're a big star player, if you're LeBron James, you basically get to pick and choose who you want. So if you pick Westbrook, you have a terrible team, and that's your fault. And that does happen in esports still, but it is much more on the owners. And really, look, in Steel's defense, we're going to talk about it a little bit later. T1 is probably the biggest disaster of any organization of all of Valorant. So it is definitely
hey. Stop the T1 slander, okay? Some of this stuff was like not even like the org's fault, okay?
It is not entirely their fault.
I'll put on my like white knight armor and stuff and come out to defend some of this crap because there are a bunch of narratives. Okay, there's a bunch of narratives about T1, but there's a bunch of narratives in general that just, you know what really grinds my gears?
Let's hear it.
Go ahead.
When Reddit says, why doesn't this team give this player a chance or give this roster a chance? They've only been together for 3 months. And it's like, well, how much time do you give them? Oh, you have to give them like at least 6 months. You don't get any results for over like, you know, the first event. And they're like, why are they picking up these players? Why don't they drop them? It's like, which one is it? Do you want to give them time to develop and build and give new players a shot? Or do you want to use the recycled people that you know that you're going to get a little bit with them? And it's like, are you going to give them the time to develop or are you going to cut them after the first bad result? You can't have both. Anyways.
That's true.
Yeah, we are going to talk about T1 a little bit later. We'll go a little bit more in depth. So Disguised Toast told me yesterday, he assured me he would be here. Now, he is in Taiwan right now, and it is 2 a.m. over there. He has not responded. I do not know where Toast is. We're going to lose 90% of our viewership now, but I don't know. I don't know where he is. I'm waiting. I'm waiting on
my chat, bro.
He just woke up.
Oh, great. Okay. Wonderful. So Steel's boss will be. Oh,
why are you roasting Toast like that?
While you're here, wait.
He actually he just DM'd me. That's funny. I didn't. I hadn't checked.
I want to run this by him. When we are going to play in a match, can we say, let's go get this bread? Or is that too cringe? Is that too on the nose?
You have to say toast, right?
Let's go get this bread.
No.
Bread isn't as on the nose. I like it. You should do it.
Yeah, that's perfect. I think that fits Toast style, honestly.
The amount of dies of cringe that I'm seeing right now is too high. Let's keep it simple.
That means it's great.
It does mean it's great. That's that's how I respond when I'm watching Curb Your Enthusiasm and I see Larry David do something super cringe. That's me right there. But it's good.
Okay.
Genius.
All right, Rod, take us into the next.
No, well, Toast is here, so we're gonna talk to your boss. Yeah,
let the man like shake up his hair, brush his teeth, drink a glass of water. He literally just rolled out of bed, and you're just shoving him in.
Well, no, he said Sean has me as a friend. Not sure if I see your Discord, but add me and just add me. So he seems he's ready. But Toast, if you need a couple minutes, you want to go get some coffee, make some breakfast, whatever you want to do, it's all good. We got
lots of topics. We have 3 hours worth of topics. We're going to condense it into 1.5.
No, we can move through a bunch. But okay, so I'll wait till Toast tells me what he wants to do. And then we'll go from there. But okay, until he does, we can go into like the actual first news topic. We're gonna talk about the VCT lock-in Sao Paulo at the end because Leo is not going to be joining for another hour and a half anyway. So I figured we'll wait for that discussion until we talk to him instead of talking about it now and then talking about it again later. That makes sense. Yeah.
That's probably best.
I have a question. Will there be an intermission in this 3-hour-long podcast?
I was saying I gotta pee pretty soon, Josh.
I'm good for a little bit, but I just need a
old man bladders.
I just have to prepare mentally for this.
Just saying.
I mean, Spencer ran 6 ads before the show even started, so yeah, we'll probably have a break every 15 minutes. Don't worry, Josh.
All right.
I'm sure you'll be
These Twitch contracts these days are OP.
100 Thieves is running Hiko into the ground. Got to get those ads quick. Got to keep them going.
Man. I don't sit here and ever quick run an ad. It's just auto, man. What do you want me to do? Just sometimes I got to pee, and Josh knows. We be peeing a lot.
We're peers. Yeah, I don't know what to say.
Peeing a lot.
2 peas in a pod.
Dude.
Well, okay, so he's DMing me now. I think Sean, you might want to. Okay, he's ready. Toast is good. Toast is good to go. So maybe Sean, you
Let's
add him.
go.
Also, Spencer, I gave you his Discord.
Why?
Oh, Adam to here?
Why? What do you mean why? So you could add him to the call.
Okay.
Why can't anyone add people to the
Yeah,
call?
they could, but Spencer
You said
was.
you gave him. You said you gave me his Discord. You didn't give me anything, bro.
I did. What are you talking about? In the beginning.
Just add him
Thank
to
He's
you.
in the,
Thank
he's in the
you,
call.
Sean.
Here, I'm gonna give
Thank you,
Thank
Sean.
you, Sean.
I like how he's like, I refuse to add Rod as a friend on Discord. This has to go through Sean.
No, Hiko was supposed to produce before we got our actual great producer. By the way, thank you, Sacripels and Razor. Big round of applause for helping us out.
Thank you, Sacripels, and like you have to look them up. Like you don't even know. That's so disrespectful.
Let's
That's
check
so
my notes here.
disrespectful. Check my notes. Yep.
No, look, I have the doc in front of me. Okay,
Didn't even say the
through
name right.
doc.
It's
No, not the name.
Sacripels.
No, I'm getting I'm getting the topic for Toast up while I'm talking. Josh, you are so mean. Okay,
Like,
you're
I
so
feel like
mean to
Rod-
me. It's
Rod
very
gets-
unfair.
Rod gets
It's
tilted and
unfair.
just starts yelling. That's Rod.
I get
Yeah.
tilted.
Yeah, and you just start yelling.
Have you watched Still Play Ranked?
I've seen Seal play in a match. He doesn't do that. What you do?
You're right.
I think I yell more in ranked
right.
than I yell in matches.
Yeah, my bad.
That's true.
My fault.
I yell at the other team in matches. I yell at my stream
Tell him to sit down.
when I
And,
play ranked.
yeah.
I do tell them to sit down. Why do they stand up?
Oh, they lost because of that. They tilted
Yeah.
you, or they tilted themselves.
How scared were you actually when King Vinny dropped 30 kills in the first game?
I was just wondering when we were gonna wake the hell up.
Do you
guys
notice?
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, do you notice a honeymoon phase with your current roster? Like, I know you said that everyone can take it. Do you think that is because of a honeymoon phase, or is that?
It's possible. It's a good question because on T1, when we first were doing the trials and everything, and before we played stage 1, I think we were in a honeymoon stage before the Help Sewer incident, where we were destroying like so many teams, so many like good notable teams in scrims. And I think even in matches, we played like an NSG. The only team we lost to was like Guard in the finals, but we took a map off them, I believe. And this is like the month before, or the same month as Guard had their insane run in stage 1. And then we were doing pretty well against a lot of the top teams, and then the Help Sewer incident came, and then like I think that's what killed people. Like we got disqualified from that stage. The next week people were still emo about it, and then in that period between stage 1 and stage 2, after the honeymoon stage, I think that's when you start saying like, okay, like we're kind of like we have to go into crunch time for this first tournament. But after the first tournament, we're going to start layering all the structure and all this stuff and fixing fundamentals and mistakes. I think that's where teams could really screw up if they try doing too much or changing people's identities on the team too much. I think that's where teams can fall off. I don't think we'll get to that point because I don't think we're the types of players or we're doing the types of modifications like as a coach or IGL or anything that would lead to that. I'm hoping, knock on wood, but I could definitely see why that happens to some teams and not to others. And I think it comes from expectations and pressure and trying to kind of be perfect instead of just getting better day by day.
Yeah, I think that's fair. You run into a problem sometimes of like what you said, where everybody can take criticism and everybody is good and it's like, yeah, until that one thing happens, and then this guy just resents you forever, which
I mean, true, absolutely true. Yeah,
but yeah, we'll leave that we'll leave the past in the past.
Yikes.
All
How you
good.
doing, Toast?
Yo, hey, how's it going?
Yo.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, sorry about that. I didn't set an alarm, so I kind of hope I woke up. And yeah, I was a few minutes late, so thanks for waiting.
No, you made it right on time. It's actually my fault that I didn't give you the right time and that it was delayed. So you can blame me.
Wow, that is not what he was saying
That is
before you
not
got
true.
here.
Yeah,
That is- he's
I am
being
here
different
to.
now.
I am absolutely here to take every blame for
just
all
dish
of
it
it.
on him. Just blame him for anything. Blame him
Yes.
for T1's performances last year too. While you're at it. But if you guys were looking for like kind of like a recap of what happened during our match versus King Vinny, our voice comms sounded like like that, like we just woke up.
Oh gosh.
What? Shot at the boss?
Yeah.
just jump starting this.
This guy signed
What-
your paycheck. You can't bite the hand that feeds you, bro. What's wrong with you?
What time is it right now for you, Toast?
2-ish?
2 a.m.
Oh my god, you woke up for Rod at 2 a.m.?
Yeah. No, he showed a lot of faith during our VCT run.
That's true. We were all rooting for you guys in the chat. Rod was like a cheerleader up in that Discord
He
channel.
was.
Steele just insults me, but all I was doing was supporting him. Oh, every game, every match. I'm here for you, Josh.
I was okay.
Okay, good. Made you feel a little bit bad.
This is a losing battle. There's no recovery from this. It's best we just move on.
Toast, how many times did you almost pass out watching your team try to qualify?
Definitely the most the second day because they had that King Vinny series. I just think it's so hilarious that our first broadcasted game was against this Jeff who just went like 50-1 or something. That one was terrifying, and I had to listen to Tarek clown on me for like 40 minutes straight. But I think it was way scary, the unbroadcasted game, like the one that was completely off stream, because that was against Governor and like Harmful, who are in the winners finals right now, I think.
Squirtle squad.
And yeah, Squirtle Squad, Fullerton, and that one was pretty scary because like they were just really
Or
good.
which full turn? Yeah, that's true. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, and but I think the team once again brought it back in game 2 and 3 because we just went down like no resistance game 1, and I think after that the team kind of like took it really seriously and made sure they never drop another series after those games. So I was terrifying, but even against OXG while we were up on Ascent 9-3, something about Valorant just never makes you feel safe, no matter how far ahead you are. And once they started coming back, I'm like, oh shit, it's happening. But they closed it out.
Dude, it's actually true. I feel like no lead is safe in this game sometimes. And Josh, what did it feel like playing against because that squad, like the Squirtle squad team, those guys are just ranked demons. Like those guys are insane when you run into them in the ranked
I think
servers.
Toast was right. I think it was the worst Fullerton team. Yeah, it's just the issue with us was that the two maps that we lost, the Icebox and the Fracture, against the King Vinny team, that's so disrespectful. Fish Taco and then where's Fullerton? Where like we didn't follow our game plan at all. And the second and third maps is more us playing our game plan like what we had been practicing. So it was just like scary in the sense it's like, guys, like when are we gonna wake up and start actually shooting back and start, doing stuff instead of just playing scared. But I think we were able to wake up pretty quickly after just like just a quick wake up call. I guess that leads into a question I have for Toast is that you watch the scrims, you have our voice comms in the scrims, but the matches, did you watch our match VODs with comms back, or did you only watch the streams of them?
I mostly watch the streams of them. I did go back like after you guys won the whole thing to kind of like listen in on like the victory moments.
Yeah.
Just to hear like what you guys were saying. Like you got that 3K on Pearl against OXG,
Mm.
and then
Yeah.
you said something, and I thought that was pretty funny. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna say what you said.
That's
Yeah,
that's
well,
always
what
that's
you-
always my concern. I never know what I say that can be repeated in public or not. It's not just because it's like a cancelable thing, but just because it's like a disrespect.
Yeah, it's like-
PG.
Yeah.
there.
It's like a G. Like at worst, it's like a GG easy kind of thing, but nothing over the line. But no, for those games, I mostly just watched the broadcast one, except for the Fullerton one, because I had to watch.
It was off stream, right?
Yeah, it was off stream, but no, it's never like when you guys like. So I tune into the scrims like pretty often, but once it starts getting like, there's some discussion going on and some like stronger personality starts like expressing the differences, I usually tune out because it's like, oh, this is like
It gets a
this
little
is like
rowdy in
between the
there.
players. Yeah, it's like between the players, and I don't want to make it feel like, oh, I'm just gonna be, in the corner secretly listening in, because I understand like, you guys gotta resolve your differences and like gotta figure things out. So usually when that happens, I'm like, all right, I'm tapping out, and I'm gonna come back in once we start like winning again, or like
Not
focusing on
not
the
getting
game.
rowdy.
Yeah, not getting around
Yeah.
because my feeling is there's like let the boys be boys, and the last thing they need is to feel like Toast is listening in, judging them based on like everything.
We already have Big Brother. We
Yeah. Spencer, did you play for any orgs other than 100 Thieves and Valorant? I don't
No,
remember.
I've only,
No.
only 100 these since the start.
Yeah, Josh, you've obviously played for T1. Did those orgs have like their upper management listen to your guys' scrims?
Mm, T1, yes, from time to time, especially if there were like issues, just to like keep a pulse on like what was going on and just be able to kind of like resolve if there were player differences and the coach wasn't able to kind of resolve them. I think that was important. I think that was something that was lacking at 100 Thieves actually, is that we had meetings with the GM every like after every stage, so like every 3 or 4 months. And I feel like that might have been too far between meetings, because if there was anything that was building up, it's good to know when it's starting and not when like it's got to a boiling point where it's like, okay, this is a problem right now and we don't know the resolution to it. It needs to be kind of like nipped in the bud like way before. And I've had experiences on teams in the past where the GMs didn't know what was happening, and then it's like, okay, it's gone to this point where it's a he said, she said, and now it's like we can't coexist. What are you going to do about it? And now the GM's like, well, I don't know what's been going on. So I think having like being in the know a little bit is good, and then being able to intervene when you need to, because you don't want to let things spiral out of control, and you kind of want to make sure that things are able to be resolved when there's still time to resolve them, and not let them just like compound exponentially until it's at a point where it's like, okay, yeah, the two of us, we can't coexist. Choose one.
I feel like it was more like a scare tactic for 100 Thieves, where it was like, guys, you need to record your POVs, and like, someone from 100 Thieves might be watching, like Nade Shot might tune in, this person might be watching, but you don't really know if it's happening. And yeah, I think that was probably one of, I agree with Josh about the 100 Thieves thing, at least, that like, I think that they probably should have been a bit more hands-on, especially when problems started arising and like people that were on 100 Thieves staff knew that there were these like really deep problems. But I think it's cool if Toast is actually like watching your guys practice, and he knows that there's a boundary of like he doesn't want to overstep being in your guys, like being in the drama that you guys are involved in, but also like wants to be there to watch and support you guys. I think that's cool. And it's an interesting work relationship you guys have going on. I think it's healthy.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
It was definitely like a bit of a scare tactic. I agree with that. Like, because on 100 Thieves, we would run like private YouTube streams.
Right.
Like I would always run them. And randomly, like Nadeshot or Jacob would come in, the COO. And it's like the players would say some like super funny shit. Like, like they might talk shit about like some sponsor obligation or something. And then like I would get a message about it, be like, that fuck. Like, we can't say those things in practice. Like, I'm trying to be like on the player side, but also like, guys, shut your fucking mouth. Like, like it is a bit of a scare tactic. So I like that you have the boundaries though to not cross those lines if the players are in like a bad spot and you kind of wait for the good vibes to come back. Because I think having faith in them to fix those problems is the play.
Well, Toast doesn't completely have to worry. There's no sponsors yet. There's not even a logo, or a team picture or anything. So, Toast, you've been an esports team owner for about a month and a half.
Yeah.
How do you feel about your experience so far?
I mean, it's fun, but I can see why all these sponsors, like all these orgs, take like shit ton of sponsors. I feel like I'm doing this esports shit in reverse, where like these esports teams, they start off in esports, but they ultimately want to sign a whole bunch of content creators and make content and like sell them out to sponsors. And I kind of went the opposite direction, where I was part of like a content creation group, and I feel kind of stupid because it's like, oh, I already like had what all these esports orgs want, and now I'm picking up the things they don't want, which is like the unprofitable side of esports, which is the actual esports itself. But I think it's gonna be a fun challenge to try and make money. Worst case scenario, I just take some crypto sponsorship, but really trying my best to avoid that. But yeah, apparently esports orgs don't really make money like at all. They just take investors' money and try and convince them that, oh yeah, no, this is good marketing. This is a loss leader, and then they do it for like years while they try and figure out how to make money. But I'm not too worried about it though.
Toast, as someone who's been in this industry for over 20 years, you probably picked the worst time to get into esports in the last decade. Congratulations. You've inherited an industry in ruin right now. It is falling apart at the seams. Everything is going wrong. I mean, you made a funny tweet yesterday. How do esports teams actually make money? I mean, unsurprisingly, many of the responses, and truthfully, yeah, they don't right now. It's not even just esports. This is affecting all of gaming influencers. Even Twitch is not doing so hot as a whole, as a website, and as a company. So, knowing all this is going on, like, why did you even decide to start doing all this?
I don't know. I just really like gaming in general, and I do think it's a great opportunity, because when I heard about like the whole Valorant franchising scene, and they were like, okay, well, 5 North American teams is gonna be franchised. I'm like, that's 25 players, and that's so little. Like, I see so many like good players, just even as a casual like viewer. Outside of 25 players, it's insane that only 25 players get to play in like the franchise league. So the tier 2 scene must be like popping, right? And I think a lot of esports org aren't willing to take that risk just yet, and some are. And it wouldn't be crazy for me, like with my small capital, to like field a really good team, like for relatively cheap. I say relatively because it's still ultimately pretty expensive. So that made me want to get into it. I'm also kind of like, what's the word? like I kind of seen it all when it comes to like streaming in my own personal career, and I'm trying to get some kind of happiness by siphoning joy and happiness from other people. And definitely seeing some of these like younger players, especially Joseph Clear, be so excited about like pretty much anything that happens. He's like an excited golden retriever. Like every time we play a game or like succeed in something, he's like completely beaming, and I feel a little less dead inside each time. Um, so that's one of the main reason I'm getting into the esports scene.
Was there anything that attract you to Valorant over, any other game that you could have chosen? Is it just because of, OTV got pretty big into Valorant, also the Riot connection? A lot of people, at least in that, you kind of started off in Hearthstone, but a lot of the team kind of came from League of Legends, and was Valorant just an easy way to get into all this?
I think it's kind of like the future, because when I look on TikTok, at least, like it's so much like Valorant content, and like there's TikTok content for every game, I would say, but it's very popular on Valorant. Like you have like people just doing highlights. You have like Valorant TikTokers, and they try and get into streaming and stuff. And I kind of look at where the young people go, and Valorant is like a place they make a lot of content. And I think Valorant is also doing a pretty good job at including a female player base, and like making sure they're looked after, and that the community isn't too toxic towards them. Um, so I think there's a bright future for Valorant, and with the tier 2 scene being like what it is, where it's like people can just join this open qualifier. And if you do well, you can be part of the tier 2 scene. So there was a very set path for us, and made it easier to say, "Wow, let's go for it. Let's go through this open qualifier." Then,
Oh,
I have a
Game Changers
question.
team soon?
Uh, maybe
Yeah.
like if this one goes well, hopefully.
What
I have
would
a
you
question.
done?
Do you think developer, because you mentioned like not being profitable as an org, do you think developer support is required for orgs to be profitable? Because in traditional sports, obviously no one owns the game. Do you think developers need to kind of break open the piggy bank a little bit more and let the money trickle down? How do you think an esports org becomes profitable? Like what, based on like your responses there and like kind of looking into it, like what do you think is the long-term play for these orgs?
It would definitely be very nice, because all like I hear what Valve do for their international, like and for like CS:GO. Like I understand they do like sprays or something, or like boxes. I'm not too familiar with how Valve operate, but I've
You can buy
heard they got
signatures around the major.
yeah. That would be super nice. But it's always hard to rely on stuff like that. I think if it's something that I could like push Riot on a little bit, that would be um great. But I haven't really thought about that, and I've been trying to think about like how do I just become profitable on my own? And I think one big thing is just first mainly to try and stay in Valorant. Um, I think there's some kind of like tantalizing thought, oh, I should just like expand to other esports like Hearthstone. I know Hearthstone or TFT because I come from that space. But if I'm unprofitable with one team, I'm definitely going to be unprofitable with two teams. So my goal is to just focus on this one Valorant team, and maybe do sponsorship, try and package myself along with it. I kind of like right now when I get approached for sponsors, I kind of don't view it in just like, oh, this is 5,000 for an hour or like 10,000 for a pre-roll anymore. I think, okay, this is one player's salary for 2 months, so I should say yes. It's kind of like
Mhm.
picking up a double shift as a single parent to pay rent now, because now that I have extra expenses in a way. But no, I have no idea how to be profitable as an esports org. But luckily, I did spend a lot of time on Facebook and on Among Us. So
There you go.
just for player confidence, if for Josh's confidence and any of the players who are out watching, there's enough capital to keep the team going for a couple of years. So
I would hope that like eventually Riot does more for not only teams but also like content creators and streamers and all the likes, because I know, you know, I had talked to some League of Legends players, and you're probably more familiar with this, Toast, but to my knowledge, like Riot actually like will give streamers and pro players you know, like free skins essentially, right? Free of the points to promote in game, and whether there's going to be something like that for Valorant, whether there's going to be, you know, content creator or pro team you know, charms or spray paints like Valve does or something like that. You know, I think all we've seen so far was for champions. Now they shared the profit on the champion skins. So, you know, whether they do like team skins of all the franchise teams, or if they do like agent skins, or they do glove skins or shoe models, whatever they might do, you know, I think all of that could go towards helping not only Riot make more money, but also like people that are in your shoes who kind of need that extra revenue to stay afloat, and all the other teams as well.
yeah.
Maybe even like creator codes for people like in the esports scene or something like that. You know, like the orgs get creator codes. I don't even know.
Yeah,
I don't know how that would work.
Well, Epic and Activision do it, but Riot has been hesitant to include a creator code in their games, probably intentionally.
Yeah, it's like, why would you? Why would you give away like 20% for no reason? Everything's working fine.
I think to piggyback off of Sean's original question, I think I saw something recently about like the battle pass for the international this past year made like $293 million or something, but only like $18 million went to the international. So it was like there's a big discrepancy between how much money Valve's like creating and making from this stuff versus how much actually trickles down to the tournament. And I don't think that includes like sticker sales or like sprays or whatever they would have in Dota. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I know like CS there's stickers that you get from the capsules for team stickers and player signatures, and then the team rev split on the team stickers, whereas the players get the rev split on those player signatures. Right now, all we know of in Valorant is like the champions bundle, and then the teams that make champs split that revenue. I'm assuming something similar is going to happen for the franchise teams, but you know how much money they make versus how much money the teams get versus like how much the org keeps for themselves versus how much like the players take from that split. All of that's still kind of like fresh and young, and I feel like that could be like a bigger way for the money to trickle down, as you said. And I don't know like what percentage is actually trickling down.
and how does it trickle down to the tier 2 scene and the teams that aren't in, you know, aren't in the franchise league? Like that's even a bigger question, is how do these teams make money? How does Toast
50% of that? Yeah, this says 50% of net proceeds. No, this is for the franchise. This is for the franchise stuff, but yeah.
I mean, one good move that Riot made, unlike League of Legends, which is franchised, specifically the word franchise, just like the Activision Blizzard leagues, where the team organizations had to pay Riot between $10 and $15 million. In Valorant, it's a partnership. It's not franchise, and Riot pays the partnership teams directly. Now, the teams don't get a permanent spot in the league, which then the owners can sell, which is a very distinct difference. So Riot can remove any team in the partner league whenever they want to for reasons of their own volition. But they are giving money to the teams instead of taking money from the franchise leagues. But the pessimism in me kind of believes that they're doing this so they don't have to do team skins and gloves, and they can only keep the champions bundle. Even the champions bundle, that's up to each of the different organizations to give the players the money from the champions bundle. Some of the teams in Valorant are not giving a really big cut of the champions bundle to the players. There are some really scummy organizations in Valorant. So I think that Riot made a good move of giving money to the Valorant partnership teams, unlike taking money in League of Legends. But I get a feeling they're doing this specifically to get around not including team skins in the game so they can hoard all of the money from microtransactions, because that is where the bulk of their income comes for developers.
I think I mean, look, now that it's the same thing that happened in CS. Sean, you were on complexity at that point? Were you not with me?
Of course that was. I know what you're gonna say.
Something very, very, very similar happened to us way back when.
That's when there was no money in esports.
Right, yeah,
So like, I'm not even bitter about it.
It's just like, you know, now that there is a stipulation that there might be a rev share, I'm sure like for player contracts there will be, you know, a agreement. Like that's a negotiation that you have with your org now. Signing a contract is like, hey, if there is this lump sum of money that comes in, like the players get a 50% cut, otherwise we're going somewhere else. Like that, I feel like that is a little scummy for an org to do, especially at this day.
We're still in the infant stages though, right? Because when you had that issue happen to you guys, it was like that was the first time stickers were in the game, and then the stickers went from like team stickers to like player stickers. So like when those changes happen, like imagine you're on a 2-year contract and it's like, oh, there's nothing about any stickers at all, and then stickers come to the game for team stickers, and then it's like, okay, we negotiate our contracts after this event and we say team stickers, and now like player sticker comes out for the next event and that's not in your contract. You know, how does that like split work?
Yeah.
So
that's what happened. Yeah,
I feel like that. Like, how do you do that? So, like, let's say Valorant's going to put out like player or team gun buddies or something weird, or like team-based skins or something. How is that going to like? How are you going to put that in a contract if you don't know it even exists? And you might be on a 1-year contract. It's like easy to renegotiate. But if you're on a 2 or 3-year contract, how do you even like account for that? And what's the fair split to make and everything like that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, like what if like tomorrow Twitch enables something where like you can tip someone in an esports game that makes like an insane play. So like Josh gets like a 1-on-3 and all of a sudden like there's 200,000, you know, like viewers and 1% of those people tip money. Like that's not in your contract. Like where is that money going? Like what's happening there? And, like that's kind of the problems we ran into at the start of CS:GO.
yeah.
And what Spencer's alluding to is, yeah, the first one was a team sticker, so Complexity ended up getting it all. The second one, though, I noticed Valve made all of the money like go to the players. Like you had to fill that stuff up in Steam.
Well, that's always been Valve's prerogative. They always want to help the players. They've actually never wanted to help the team owners. Valve has always directly wanted to help the players, and that's why they do the crowdfunding for Dota, is to give the money directly into the players' pockets, not the teams. And that's kind of Valve's unique situation. I think Riot and Activision Blizzard have been a bit more sympathetic to the team owners, even though we see, as of 2 days ago, a new report by Jacob Wolf, is that the Overwatch League owners, some of which have teams, both in Valorant and the LCS, are going to be taking Activision Blizzard to court for collective bargaining because the Overwatch League is failing in a number of ways. So there's definitely, as esports is going through all of these issues, all of the team owners and all of these teams that are not making any money are all going to be coming up with new ideas to, and they should honestly go after each of the developers and publishers in different ways to demand more money from them. Because the biggest problem in all of this, as Sean mentioned earlier, they own the IPs. This is unlike sports. Nobody owns basketball. Nobody owns football. No one owns soccer or baseball. Everybody, these developers own League of Legends and Valorant and Counter-Strike and Dota, and Overwatch and Call of Duty, and they gain the majority of the revenue and income from these games, and the team owners and even the players get the scraps. So unless the owners and the players really work together to demand certain things from the developers, they're never going to make more money. And honestly, Riot doesn't have to listen to anybody. Even if all the team owners and the players came together to demand certain things that they want, Riot could just say no. And what are they really going to do? What is everyone really going to do? Because Riot owns the IP and Blizzard owns the IP. They could leave the game, but then that's just going to destroy the entire scene to begin with. So all the leverage is with the developers. It's going to be very difficult for team owners and even players to heighten their demands to increase revenue. It's going to be difficult for teams to do stuff. And like Toast, you know, as you know, so many esports organizations are diversifying by getting content creators and by getting streamers instead of getting pro players. They're cutting entire pro teams to pick up, you know, Minecraft streamers instead because there's better ROI in doing so. Now, you have a little bit of an advantage here because you come from the content creation world first. Do you think that might help you? Even though you're just getting started in an esports team and you're going up against teams that have been around for 10 or 20 years, do you feel like because those organizations are trying to get into your space and this is where your expertise is, you might actually have a leg up on a couple of them if you get things going?
Well, I don't plan to pick up any content creators. I did think about it, but I think it'd just be weird. Because I kind of just want to focus on esports. I think there's some kind of level of prestige that you can only get by being like the best at a video game. And I think content creation kind of distracts from that and focuses on like the more for fun aspect of gaming. But I don't imagine myself forcing my players to fulfill any. I think the biggest thing I want to avoid is I see a lot of esports org try and make their players fulfill contracts and deliverables they promise to the sponsors, or do content pieces they're just like the players just aren't suited for.
Can you force Steel to stream 8 hours of ranked a day? I think that would be real. I think that would be great for the adult
I'd love
community.
that.
Yes, please.
Yeah, you just see this like a lot of like these YouTube videos, like no flame, but definitely a bit of flame. Like even if you look at some of these tier 2 Valorant scenes YouTube channels, and they're just doing these really like terribly thought out content pieces, and they're just doing it. I don't know why. Maybe it's for sponsor, maybe because like they paid someone like 80K a year to edit these videos, but these videos are getting like 1 or 2K views, and I'm like, there's no way you're getting the returns you need to get to justify this kind of like production. So for my players, like I can do the content pieces, I can like do the streams, like if they want. Kind of the policy I have is like if you want to be like doing content, if you want to stream, then definitely go for it. But it's never gonna be a case of like, well, we have these sponsor app obligations and we need you to do like X and Y's and give you your like top 5 reasons why blah 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 why you should be playing Valorant, brought to you by this org of the week.
You can do like a random taste test challenge every week. It sounds like fun.
Yeah, like I think there are content like that. That's fun, but it's like the players want to feel like they want to be there and not feel like they had a gun to their head.
I mean, certainly it goes both ways, though, right? Like you want your players to have a brand, and you want the closer that your fans are to your players, the more connection they have, the more they like them, the more likely they're going to support your players and your org. So, I mean, it kind of goes both ways for sure. But
I think it's important that you have good ideas for content. Like I've done so many content pieces where it's like, oh, you have to do like a tier list for like players that are in your, you know, like how are you supposed to do that without like, you know, getting absolutely just blasted in comments? Like you can't do that. Or like, I don't know, there's like the tier list ones are always like so cringe. It feels like people are just like reaching for like, oh, we have this deliverable, so we have to do like a video, and then it's like I have no idea what to do, so I'll just do this. Or some people just don't even want to be there, and it's just like you can tell it's like 2 people talking, 3 people are just standing around, and it's like, okay, like it just makes things so awkward.
Yeah.
You know, much of the only money coming into esports the last few years is crypto sponsors and gambling sponsors. Is you know, considering the current state of the industry, I know none of us really like these sponsors. I'm Toast, I'm sure you're probably against it. Would you consider it, or are you really gonna
about? Toast is about to sign Marlboro, Jack Daniels, FTX, like just Just sell it all.
FanDuel, what else?
Yeah, just get them all. Get them all. We need a tobacco sponsor.
Are you open for anything, or are you really going to try to stay away from those sectors?
I definitely already had a crypto investor express interest, but I'm gonna try my best to stay away. Like, never say never. Like the Staples Arena is called the Crypto Center for a reason, right? It's just
Yeah, crypto.com.
yeah,
Not for that
it's
much
just
longer. We don't know how much longer, but it is for now.
it's just an ungodly amount of money in crypto, and like, but over the last year we've seen the crash. Like, I mean, when COVID was peaking, like that's when crypto, like a lot of money was flowing into crypto, and everything seemed like it was on the up and up, and then everything crashed, and now like esports org, a lot of them are like hand in hand with crypto, and that's why there's so much layoffs happening. Like the gaming space in general, even with the NFT stuff that was going on, there's just a lot of money tied into it. I'm gonna try my best to avoid it because I don't know. Personally, I think you can't, as an esports org, you can't accept crypto money and then like shill it to all your fans, and then once it goes down, it's like, well, guys, we're actually not gonna be in crypto space anymore. Sorry. Wipe your hands clean off it and pretend like you weren't just selling this to your very young player base, getting them to invest for the last like 3 and 4 years. You can't. It's like, I don't think you can just walk away and act like it was a regular sponsor. It's not a regular sponsor when it comes to crypto. It's not like you were selling like, I don't know, pizza pops. It's like you got fans to like buy into this very volatile currency, right?
What if you did
And
the train wrecks method of saying like, don't do, I got the crypto, but don't do crypto. You know what I mean? Does that make it?
yeah, I mean, at least Train like said that. I think with a lot of these orgs, you can't even say that because it's in your contract to not disparage um, the company. Like these
That's
things
true.
work because you get people to buy in, right? Like the more people who are buying into crypto, like the higher the valuation is. But as I've learned very early on in my trading days, like someone's left holding the bag at the end of the day, and it's usually like the people with very little experience. And I would hate to think that I did that to someone, especially people who bought into it because they believed in you and your brand, and like their reward for doing that is like, thanks for covering our company costs for the next couple of years.
Does that mean you have this? You would have the same aversion to crypto as you would to gambling? If FanDuel or DraftKings comes in with a big bag, are you gonna say no?
I will say never, because if tomorrow FanDuel comes in with like a $500 million offer, I'm taking that shit.
What about the
I try not-
Saudis? If the Saudis came in with $500 million, you taking that too?
I would maybe like.
They're buying everything right now. You know,
I mean, they bought CS:GO.
yeah, they bought all of
Yeah.
CS:GO. It's coming.
Yeah, I would say everything has a price, including myself. I try not to throw too much stones in this glass house I'm in. If it means like now my players can like be covered for the next 5 years, and then they don't have to worry, and my staff doesn't have to worry, then I would probably take it for good money. But if it's just for like, okay, it's gonna keep me running for 1 year, then it's not worth it. If it's gonna keep me running for the next 20 years, then hell yeah. So I don't think anyone in the space sets out to be like, I can't wait to accept a gambling sponsorship. I can't wait to accept an alcohol sponsorship. But the truth is, a lot of money comes from that, and there's nothing inherently wrong with wanting to like get the bag so that your operations can keep going. But if it's just for like a smaller amount, then it might not be worth the trade-off. So there's a lot of nuances. It's easy for me to go like gambling bad, but a lot of esports orgs do it for a reason. And I don't necessarily think it's because they just love money. It's because, well, shit, we're not profitable in every single other way. And this is kind of like how we can like stay alive for the next couple of years. It's easy to judge them, but I think it's more complicated than just taking a gambling sponsor.
I think it's respectable though, and I think as an owner, somebody who's been around for as long as you have, and it's very hands-on. I think you have a different approach than a lot of these tier one orgs that have a board of directors, investors that they're trying to please or appease at all times. And so you not being in that position yet, now who knows if you'll ever become into that position, and you'll have to do these things, but it's why you can never say never. But the fact that you're not there yet and you're able to take this stance now, I think is, you build a house, you have to have a good foundation. And I think your foundation is solid. And, as an owner, I can say I've been around a lot of owners in my day, and I don't see a lot of transparency and honesty that you're putting out there. So, respect. And I hope, hopefully things go well for you guys. And seems like Josh is in a good spot right now as a brother to him. We are boomer brothers. I feel like you guys are in a good spot.
I agree 100%. Good guy toast.
Good guy toast. W.
I think everyone starts off in gaming with like really good intentions, but things change really fast. Because I think the beautiful thing about what we do is like no one really gets into gaming for money, because there's not a lot of money in gaming. It's because like people just fucking love playing video games. They want to do it for a living. They want to like play competitively. They want to do like streaming. There's a lot of passion there, but like someone's gotta make that hard decision. Like someone's gotta figure out, okay, how do we actually get food on the table? And I'm definitely fortunate enough right now to not have to like do the less ideal things, but maybe down the line, right?
Come on, Toast. Just give us like the Toast mouse that we can buy. That's like a 3,000% markup. Give us a jersey with like the logo on it. We'll buy it all.
Yeah, where's the merch? Are we getting a real logo? Are we getting like a different team name? I gotta be honest, I like the stick figures. I like this. I think most people
need a
actually like
mohawk
this.
there. I need a mohawk there.
I like that you look super angry in it. It's definitely on brand.
Yeah. I love all the like it's so perfect. It's perfect.
Oh,
You keeping it, Toast?
we're not keeping the MS Paint logo. I think for merch we might do something like with the stick figures one day, like as kind of a like this is for like the super fans. Like if you really fucking love DSG and you want these shirts with stick figures on them, it's available. But we also want to, because we want to make good merch, I guess. I don't know. Merch is interesting. Merch is very lucrative. The reason why like streamers and like esports org do so many drops, I can tell you now. Even like talking to my streamer friends, like these are just like one person, they're making 7 figures through merch drops. Just a person, and that's their cut. So imagine how much more the merch companies are making. That's why like there's just constantly, hey, I'm having a merch drop this season, and 2 months later, well, merch drop number 2. And that's why esports orgs are like spamming merch drops, and that's why apparently every esports org has a partnership with a different anime every season. And their merch drop is essentially our company, and we're gonna put a picture of your favorite anime character on the back of it or the front of it. It's just easy money, and the markup is crazy on some of these, not gonna lie. Like some esports org I think are pretty reasonable about their markups. Other esports orgs are like, yo, this is a borderline scam what you're doing. Like, but my way of thinking is if the fan is happy with the product and what they paid for it, that's all that matters, right? You know, if you paid $200 for a hoodie then and you're happy, then the esports org did something good. But I gotta say, it's like it's really expensive, right? And I don't know. I definitely will try and do some merch, but it's only if the fans like really want it. Like,
Are we getting jerseys? When can I get my still jersey?
we actually shit, because like there are some like VCT rules apparently regarding jerseys. I'm trying to get something just out to the players. I don't know if it's gonna be available for sale. But yeah, we are gonna get jersey mainly because we are like legally bound to have something for the players.
You have to.
Really?
Yeah, we have to make jersey. Yeah.
What happens if like a team like the Nation qualifies that doesn't have an org? Like, what if they like disband the second they qualify? Or like, that's so weird.
Yeah. Last I
probably go to an
checked,
org,
there
no?
needs to be consistency across the 5 players.
You can make
Um,
something happen quickly. when we didn't have a sponsor on Torqued and CS:GO, and we went to like CS Summit, for example, I got jerseys done within like a month.
Oh, I think I still have that jersey. The shirt, right? With the
Oh
the
no,
logo?
no. That was just like a Twitch drop or something. I'm talking about like the actual jersey. It was like I can just link it to you or something later. But yeah.
Yeah, so we will have jersey. I don't know if it's gonna be available. Like if the fans really want to buy it, we can make it available. But I wouldn't say it's part of my money making plan just yet.
The fans want them.
That's
I think the fans do want them. I want mine.
Yeah,
I know
like
it.
my hope is that we win a couple of games in challengers, and we get more fans who might want stuff like that. Like not to put pressure on my players, but a lot of our success
No
is
pressure,
kind of
Seal.
like dependent on winning. Because I think I can do a pretty good job at like selling the wares and like promoting the team. But we also like I also got into like this this space where winning's everything. Like holy shit! One thing I learned is people overreact. Like I'm reading the threads on like Valorant competitive and VLR. Like Wardell can
Never
go
read the
from like
threads.
he's like superstar one day and like complete trash day 2 and then back to superstar day 3 according to like the comments like and it's some of these are like the same commenters by the way switching from like A to B and A to B and A to B like it's so reactionary and like the reaction to like Sentinel versus TSM off the Tarek Ludwig thing it's crazy because I would say that's more of a show match more than anything, where teams aren't going to show you their strats just yet because they're going to Brazil in a month, or like for the Guard and TSM, they're going to like challengers in 2 weeks. I don't know if they're busting out like the good shit just yet, but to some like viewers, it's like that's just gospel. Like the Guard is like the best team in the world, or like TSM's like #1 team, and like Sentinel's complete trash now. It's very like overreacty, and I've been learning to try and not to read too much into it.
The best
Feels,
is when the Reddit
Tuesday-
commenters, the best is when the Reddit commenters are like, maybe they were just practicing eco strats for the entire game. It's like, bro, no one practices 24 rounds of eco strats. You're just like, what is this?
The crazy thing is there's just so many variables in Valorant, like compared to CS:GO. Like you could just be winging comps. You could have like lack of practice, preparation for the other team. There's so many weird things that can go wrong in a Valorant game, and people are so reactionary here.
It's always been. I mean, when even in CS though, when was it never like that? If you have a good tournament, you're amazing, and then in the off season they completely forgot. Like, do you remember early CS, Sean? We were
Dude, CS
like,
didn't have scrim bucks though. No one knew
God, the
scores.
death threats.
is
Remember
true.
the death threat?
oh, I have I have my Facebook fan page has thousands of death threats, Sean, to this day. Not they don't come in anymore, but yeah, I mean, I guess the stream bucks thing is a thing. Like so many streamers have pros on their streams on their friends list, and then like they just purposely like scroll through their friends list at night just to see who's winning. It's just that's a whole nother level we didn't have back then.
True.
I mean, Steel's two favorite forums on the internet are VLR.gg and the Valorant competitive subreddit. So,
How do you have my browser history? What the hell?
Yeah.
Steel actually prefers the main Valorant subreddit.
Yeah, I got the main one.
Have you gone there anytime recently?
No, I think I check it once every like 4 months just to get a good laugh, a good old deep chuckle. Let's check it out.
Actually going right now.
This reminded me of this. This reminded me of Overwatch because Overwatch had the same thing. It was like the Overwatch main subreddit, and it was like all like these like mid like gold level people that had like this like Mercy 6-man res or whatever like play of the game something posted, and it's had like 5,000 upvotes, and then anything related to competitive esports just like buried down, and then you go to the competitive subreddit, and it's just like you can hear crickets chirping. Yeah, it's just like
the top post, worst looking agent. Second post, I have finals to study for, so naturally I remade Breeze in medieval engineers. What the
I mean, that's okay. To be fair, like that post seems like it could be pretty cool. Like someone put like time and effort into like recreating something, but like for it to be just majority, just like I did this cosplay as Sage. How do you think? And it's like, well, I mean, cool, but I mean, that's the main subreddit. That's where most of the fans are. I wish on the competitive Valorant subreddit there was more discussion about like more deeper discussion about like strategy or anything. I wish people that actually made educational content. I remember in CS, anytime I made a video that was anything related to like IGLing or how to play maps or VOD reviews or any sort of breakdown, any analysis, it's like literally like 2,000-3,000 upvotes. It's front page, easy, no problem, hundreds of comments. In this game, I haven't been doing it at all basically because I'm like, what's the point? No one cares. And when I see other people post their videos of like, hey, I saw this team do this flash. Hey, I saw this team do this wall. Hey, this is how this team played whatever map. It's got like 40 upvotes and like 6 comments or something. Like no one engages with it. No one cares. But then like you see like some random post from some stupid like drama or something. It's upvoted and people cry about like, dude, it's always like drama. It's always drama in North America. It's always drama. It's you guys upvote the drama and you don't look at anything that's related to the competitive scene at all.
Yeah.
Sorry,
No.
a bit of a tangent there.
I feel like it's because people don't want to
we love
share
it.
it in this game. They want to keep the juice, you know? It doesn't serve them well to share that content.
I will say that Reddit, it's just not even worth like, especially ever since I retired. Like I very, very rarely go on the Valorant subreddits, both the main one and the comp one, because it is just poop posting, as we'll say here. But I have found that like actual educational content like on YouTube or TikTok actually does really well. It's just you can't get it's so hard to feed it to the Reddit fan base because exactly what you say, because you know the subreddits don't care. They care about like being edgy and being funny and getting out there and making a controversial topic, and you know ShahZaM will tweet something, and then Dapper will tweet something, and then the Sentinels owner will tweet something, and all of a sudden
And Prod and Addison tweets something.
and Prod and Addison tweets something, all of a sudden that all it is on the Valorant the comp subreddit, it's just literally like ShahZaM responds about this, Dapper's reaction to that. It's like, bro, like I mean fair, but we're on a competitive subreddit. Like why?
I mean, look, there's a reason why Livestream Fail, which was originally a subreddit about fails that happened on Livestream and funny stuff, whenever you go on there, it's maybe one post about something like that happens, and then 19 posts about XQC and his life and the reaction to the reaction.
McLaren.
Yeah, and then Hassan reacting to XQC. And then
true.
Forzen reacting to XQC, reacting to Hassan, and then Mizkif reacting. That's all it is. That's all people care about. It doesn't even matter what game or what like genre it is. Or it's just kind of how Reddit operates in that way.
How do you feel about Livestream fail toast?
I definitely don't check it as much anymore. There was a period of my life where I'm like checking it obsessively every day just to see like what the trends were, and it definitely negatively affected me because I felt like I had to make content that catered to like, oh man, like maybe
Let's
I
get on
can
that.
get on Alistair. Yeah, it's because it's like good promo and like keeps you in discussion because all the other streamers are talking about livestream fail. They go on livestream fail and like if you're on livestream fail, then they'll notice and like they'll talk about you and like you'll interact with them kind of stuff. But man, it's not good for your health. Do you like try and keep because like livestream fail, I would say is just very loud. And because all the streamers look at it on stream and talk about it, that voice is amplified even louder. But like when you look at the Minecraft scene, like none of them are ever on LSF. But they
Yeah,
have
because they
like
play Minecraft.
yeah, they play Minecraft. They just keep them there. Like we're gonna play Minecraft, and their viewership like is huge as well. Like their fan base is like completely rapid. Like their fan base on Twitter. But it just shows that like live stream fail is not the end all be all of like streamers, but because streamers like the existing streamers just feed into it, it's just this giant kind of almost echo chamber of content of like what's popular and like what will get upvoted and what kind of drama is popular. So I don't check it as much these days, mainly because like I've been so focused on this Valorant stuff and it's been very healthy. Like now when I check it's like you said, it's like Force and XUC Hassan and I'm like I can't like it's reached a point where it's just not doing anything for me on an entertainment level, even on a professional like in the know level, it has no relevance. Um, so check it less. Occasionally, I might see a funny clip. Like I would say once a week out of like thousands of submissions, like one clip will make me chuckle. But yeah, I avoid that. With the Valorant competitive subreddit, I don't like the overreactor. I think it's funny when someone's like, "Yeah, I'm just here to hate on teams," and I actually really appreciate that upfrontness because like some of these commenters and viewers, they're just here to hate. They're ready to hate. Like there was a lot of people ready to hate on Steel. I can tell you that. I'm just waiting for my Steel hating arc, and that shit is so hilarious to me because like they're just being so upfront about it. You gotta respect it. And like every player has it. Like ShahZaM, like he has like a whole crew waiting to hate. Wardell, Stewie,
Even
and
tens last year was getting a lot of it too.
yeah, tens. Like I think there's just a lot. Like I personally, I do a little hate watching myself every now and then. But
Oh
they're
shit! I
just
can't even
waiting.
imagine that.
The best is when you look at the post history for those people that like hate on someone. You go to their post history, and it's either they're like hating everybody, or it's like they specifically hate like 3 people, and then they just like deride like 3 other people, like 3 other pros, and they're just like always just like talking about, oh, this guy's so much better, like he should have been picked up. Oh, such a good play. It's just so funny seeing the trends. It's not like they're there for just like, oh, I just enjoy competitiveness. It's like I'm here because I want to see this guy fail.
Yeah, you never go to their profiles and it's like a sane human. You know, like they're looking at like I don't know, like home improvement stuff and like projects, and they're commenting on like normal threads about like education or something. No, it's always just a psychopath. When you go into those comments, they're all negative. There's no way. Like it bleeds into every forum they touch. It's actually awesome. I love doing it. It's actually a lot of
Like
fun.
a guilty
to be
pleasure for you.
yeah. Like finding those accounts. Those are
Hey, so we have Riot's head of eSports for Valorant on in 15 minutes. We probably gotta wrap up. I know it's late over there for you, Toast. We don't want to keep you too much longer. Let you go back to bed. Really do appreciate you coming on and talking to everybody. This was great. I think that I had a great time. I'm rooting for you. I know all the fans are rooting for you. We all want you to succeed, not just to get the challengers. We want to see you get to Ascension, win Ascension, and have DSG in VCT. if this happens, what kind of raise is Steel getting?
Ooh.
We get him a Tesla.
Yeah, you get. Well, with how Elon's running things, that might not be worth a whole lot by then.
Well,
Give him
I guess
something money can't buy, Toast. Like, you should start creating like a second YouTube account right now that you could just give to him, you know? It has like 3 million subs. Just give him something like
yeah, I guess I never thought this far. Like my whole thing right now, I don't think more than like one step ahead. Like once people start stalking like 2 steps ahead, I'm like, I don't want to hear it.
You didn't even think we were gonna qualify. Oh, no.
Like, yeah, I didn't prepare the logo. I'm like, fuck, it'll be really fucking awkward if I like went through all this effort, hire like a design firm to make a logo, and we don't qualify. Like, shit, what do I do now? Because I'm a little superstitious. I'm not sure if you guys are when you like watch like these games or like sports in general, but I start getting those like sports superstition like that I kind of like laugh at when I see football fans like, oh yeah, you can't jinx it, you can't say this. But when I was watching those VCT games and like someone says like, oh, we're up 9-3, it's easy now, like I'm getting triggered because you're fucking jinxing it. So I try not to think too far ahead. I know I should because life exists more than 1 month ahead.
If you're
of
gonna
time.
win, because you're gonna win. That's why you're gonna look forward ahead.
But no, I haven't thought about Ascension. I've just been thinking about Split 2 is the furthest I've been thinking about. And my like I already consider this season a success. Like at the very start of everything, and Sean, I actually had this conversation with you, which was what I defined as success for 2023. And success was having a team compete in the open qualifier, not even like win. It was just having a team in open qualifier because that means we went for it. And big success is actually winning open qualifier. And super big success was making it to Ascension. Anything above that is just like not even in the realm of what I consider like on my radar. So
that's actually exactly what you said. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So
And that you were happy that you didn't have to fire anybody. We'll get you to
Yeah.
Ascension bus.
Yeah.
So you're free rolling now, Josh. You're good.
Yeah. I got the 6-month buffer now. Like all the CS players got, they had to have one good tournament. They're safe for 6 months.
Yeah. So yeah, if we win Ascension, then I don't know, whatever the players want. But I think by then, my hope is that it would be such a miracle run that every single player just has 1 million followers on Twitch and Twitter that they can retire then and there. It's like, why am I doing this esports shit anymore? Like, I'm gonna go be a content creator.
Oh,
We do need 1 million more Seal fans in ranked. I think that would be best for everybody.
I want him to say a word and just like instill fear in his 4 teammates. You know, like they hear his voice and they just shut it.
That already happens, man. They all just collapse like lawn chairs, man. Already. Wait, is that Steel?
What makes you so mad then? Like, why? If they're all just listening,
It's a combination of like the people that know it's me instantly from my voice but don't like me, so they just like int the whole game, and then streaming on top of it. So I look over at Twitch chat and see something really just so beyond stupid and annoying, and it's just like, why am I here? I think it's like it's like compounding. It's just like the mixture. It's the chemistry of the two, you know. You can have like water on its own, you can have this other thing on its own, but once you get that reaction, it overflows. Yeah, I mean, if I could handle that, I would have been a content creator years ago. But competition's where I
want
live.
you to know, Josh.
So-
I still have a command since we were teammates. > Steel.
The mold, yeah, the mold.
And how many times you've molded in rank? And as of right now, it's at over 3,000.
2,900? No, 2,950, bro.
Okay, it'll be over 3,000 by the end of the stream, I'm sure.
That's possible.
Just saying.
Oh,
That is impressive.
real quick, I saw a clip of Steel molding, and he grabbed a
One.
bike and rode it through.
Oh my god, that's
What was
amazing.
that
Good
about?
one. That's a good one.
Yeah. I don't know. That was when I moved into like my first condo in Toronto, and I was biking places still because I didn't have a car, and it was just like in the background. I got really triggered, and I hopped on the bike for a little ride around the condo. It was like a 650 square foot condo. I just went for a little spin because I didn't even have furniture really.
Got it. Yeah.
Dude,
No, I
the
think that
best-
clip really helped me understand what my IGL is all about.
No,
I mean, that
think
clip's
this-
also 10 years old, guys. I mean, did you see the reverse mohawk one?
I'm literally
Uh,
getting the link as we speak and putting it in the channel right now.
It's my
his,
Oh my
his
God.
Discord POV.
that's a Larry David
This is-
cut. That's
what made you do that? I'm curious. I
$1,000
forgot. It's
dude.
so long ago.
Everyone's got a
$1,000.
price tag. Back then, $1,000 was a lot.
Bro,
Like
$1,000 back then was insane.
it was. That was like 2014.
People were doing outrageous shit on stream for like $5 donations. Like I saw grown men twerking. Yeah, this is. Oh my, that's a clean cut, Josh. You should go. You should bring it
Oh,
back.
it's a shame Sliggy's not here. The easy skins. That's a throwback.
Oh my god, dude! I cannot
Yeah.
believe you did that.
I've done some crazy stuff that back in my day. I don't know. I mean, I resonate with what Toast was saying about like LSF and about like just like the mental health and everything about it. Because like when I was full-time streaming, it was like, yeah, money was good, yeah, viewership was good, but it's just like at some point, it's like it's not healthy. It really isn't. And when when you compare it with, for me, competition is just like competition's what I really enjoy doing. And even though competition, we're in like a team-based game, when all sorts of stuff can happen, like someone's not putting in effort, someone's like trying to like planning on how to stab you in the back, like all these things might happen. The org might be doing something funny, the coach might have like a different idea, like anything could happen in esports, DTA. But like still, with everything that esports has, competition is something that is special. And then content creation is something that is good as long as you're surrounded by people that also make it good. And I think there's like it's really easy to go down a path where once your community especially is a certain way, or like people expect certain things from you, it's kind of like a dance monkey dance thing, and it's like you lose autonomy over your life in a way. What's DTA? It's don't trust anybody. I learned this from Trey, TCK, Martin.
DTA Trey.
DTA Trey.
DTA Trey.
Okay, we gotta end. Toast, we love you. This was great. You gotta let everyone know when merch is coming. We really do want it. Anything else you want to say?
Well, thanks for having me on. This was a lot of fun. And it's been really cool learning all about like the Valorant scene and the CS:GO scene. So, thanks for listening to what I had to say, and hope everyone tunes in. I think February 1st is when challengers start, so we'll see you guys then.
Thank you.
Valorant's
Thanks,
lucky to have you.
Guys,
Thank
see you
you.
guys.
Thank you. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
All right, that was great. You're in
That
good
was huge.
hands, Steel. Can't wait
Yeah.
for you to be
I-
decent soon.
I need him to get on two things, okay? One, let's go get this bread before we play. And two, it will make my year if after we play a game, if we lose, if he says GG's, tough loss, sorry, all the fans will be,
We'll
back, stronger. That would be
Why didn't you tell him when he was here? Maybe wait for him to leave.
I know.
I
What the hell?
didn't want to cut people off again, man.
What kind of antisocial behavior is this?
That's literally the
True.
only behind your check. You can say whatever you
True.
want.
No, well, I'll make sure to let him know. We're going to make this happen. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. We are going to take a 2-minute break. Leo is ready to come on the show. Steel has to leave at 3 p.m. Eastern because he has scrims, and he's going to go practice so he can win Ascension and get into VCT. As long as it's cool with Spencer and Sean, I think what we could do is, if you guys are cool with this, since we're late starting due to a little bit of technical difficulties getting the production going, we'll interview Leo. Steel will bounce at 3, and then we will do the other topics and keep interviewing Leo if he's around after. You two down for that?
I mean, you're driving this bus, Rod. I'm just here for the ride, man. I just work here.
Spencer?
I am good for a little past 3, yes.
Dude, I just
Fantastic.
completely thought for a second that we're like on an intermission. You're asking them like off broadcast, like what,
No,
like
we're
what they're
live.
doing.
No, he's
Like,
putting us
this
on the
is
spot.
unbelievable that this is
live.
still live right now. Totally not scuffed, by the way.
This is our host. I love
Well,
it.
I gotta let the viewers know. Okay, you can't just talk about it in between the break. No, do it right now. It's fine. So now we're gonna take a 2-minute break, and we'll be back with Leo right after that. Welcome back to the Wisemen. Thank you for Toast for coming on. We now have the newly appointed global head of Valorant eSports, Leo Faria, here joining us to talk to us all about the, I would say, kind of controversial format and bracket for Sao Paulo VCT lock-in. We're also going to be talking a little bit about the future of VCT 2023 and some other stuff for esports. It's a little bit behind. We're going to give people that may not know what is happening. Riot recently released the bracket for the first event of the year this past Tuesday, which will be happening in February. 32 teams, all 30 teams from each of the 3 regions are going to be joining us, including 2 teams from China that have been invited for a 32 team bracket. The controversial part here for many people is that it will be a single elimination, no seedings bracket, best of 3 all the way through until the finals. There is no double elimination. There is no Swiss best of 1. There is no group stage. It is just straight single elim, no seedings. Best team wins. There are already a couple really hot matchups. In round 1, we're going to be seeing Sentinels versus Fnatic. The finals of Iceland, we're going to be seeing Cloud9 versus PRX. So a lot of really, really good matches to start off the tournament, which some people are going to find really exciting. Other people think that they shouldn't be playing until, the quarterfinals or the semifinals. And there's a lot of debate both ways about how this is going to be going down. There has been some commentary from a number of pros and coaches, including Chet from NRG and Angel, the coach of Navi, who have honestly not too pleased, not too happy with how this format has been. So we invited Leo on to talk to him all about their thought process on how they went about it. So, hi, Leo. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing really good. I was watching you guys for the past half hour or so.
Yeah. Oh, cool. You enjoying having DSG now part of Challengers?
Yeah. I mean, those guys are dude, I actually since we started the whole team selection process, I think America's of all of the 3 leagues, the bench of teams that are now playing in Challengers is super awesome. So I'm really excited to see how that league will go. But yeah, it's been really cool.
Now you actually haven't said, but will Challengers be going on during VCT lock-in, or is it going to be paused while the tournament's happening?
It's going to be paused. So we have, depending on the day, we have what we call a full dark day and a gray day. So for a full dark day, we ask Challenger leagues not to be live at all. And for a gray day, we ask them not to be live when lock-in is live, meaning they can run their competitions either before or after the day is finished. But yeah, we want to, of course, maximize viewership for lock-in, but also give the opportunity for all the Challenger leagues to run their tournament. So I believe the first 3 days of competition, and of course the final 3 days are fully dark.
Oh, great! All right, so we got some Steel co-streams in the middle of him winning Challengers matches. All right, let's
Wait,
get
am
right.
I allowed to do co-streams? how are watch parties? Do you know how watch parties are going to work? I'd love to be able to get watch party access.
I think I don't know the exact plans, but I do think we're doing watch parties as usual.
Okay,
Leo,
I just have no chance then.
No, now this Steel's putting you on the spot. You got to get Steel access. You got to make sure Steel has
make it happen.
access.
We'll make
There
it
you
It's
go.
happen.
like
Made
not
it
really
happen.
my role, but
Yeah.
We're gonna clip this and ship this. I'm gonna send it to the influencer manager over there. We're gonna make sure this is happening. Confirmed
There
by
you go.
Riot. Steel has access for co-streaming of Lock-In. Okay,
There
so
you
let's
go.
get right into it. You've made a lot of replies on
Right.
Twitter to a few of the pros, to Tarek, to a few of the players about some of your reasoning about why you're doing what you're doing. But can you explain to those who are watching and to us why you decided on the format that you have now as opposed to several of the different other options that you could? Most notably, the two biggest ones are the way that Counter-Strike majors are run, which is Swiss best of one into best of three bracket, or a group stage into a bracket. Why have you decided single elimination and no seeding for the first tournament of the year?
Right. So I'll try to give not a too long answer, but I just want to say right out of the gate, I'm not coming in planning on changing the formats of our tournaments. Right? Fans like it. We like it. It's one of the best things to think about Valorant eSports. The double elimination works really well. So starting masters and champions in all of our global events, and I'm not saying we're never going to change them, but I'm not coming in trying to change that. Right? Lock-In is a one-time only event that we're doing for a very specific purpose, which is one, introducing all of the new partner teams to the world, and also celebrating the launch of VCT. And there's also even more reasons behind why we're doing the tournament. A big one being we selected our partner teams back in October last year, which means they need time to move to the new hub cities. A lot of teams are moving from Latin America and Brazil to Los Angeles. Teams from all over Europe moving to Berlin and Seoul. So we couldn't start the season in January, right? Because we could very much run 2023 with our regular format, which is stage 1, Masters 1, stage 2, Masters 2, LCQ champions, but we could not start the season in January. So we had a gap, and we said, well, there's an opportunity here to do something, and that something means let's do that big ass tournament and invite all the teams down to Brazil. And that alone is what created the challenge with format, because 32 teams is a lot. And we both don't want and can't have a tournament that is incredibly long. I think Lock-In as it is already a long tournament. It's big, but it's like we wouldn't go past that. So that's one thing, right? Like if we had a longer tournament, it would mess up the rest of the calendar because we also need to start ILs and run the rest of the season. So that's one. The other thing is we also don't want and don't like super long days. We can add more matches without adding more days, but that means having a 12, 14-day broadcast, which is pretty brutal for viewers. Realistically, no one watches that much on a single day. It's also honestly not that fans care, but it's also pretty brutal on our production teams because they get there hours before the show starts and they leave hours after. So we can't ask people to work 18 hours. We could plan for a double shift, right, and have double the amount of producers. That's possible. But anyway, but there's that. So with all that said, we looked at a bunch of options, right? We looked at, as you said, we looked at GSL groups into single limb. We looked at Swiss all the way through, and we just felt this was the best option. And we can get into the details of why if you want. I think the one thing I saw a lot of people asking is, you can't actually do Swiss if it's BO1. We don't like BO1. We think for a number of reasons that I'm happy to talk why, but
I don't think anyone likes BO1s.
Yeah, right. I mean, especially on like a Valorant MR12, it's just too volatile. Like you get into a map that you're not good at, you're screwed, or like pistol rounds are too important. So we decided to prioritize one, having all 30 teams there, 32 including the 2 invited from China, and also having fewer matchups. So like we don't have a lot of matchup diversity. You don't have one team playing a lot of teams. But when a matchup happens, quite significant, and you do know who's the best team and who, we have a more definitive winner.
I mean, that is fair. I think the main question that I think everybody has is why am I low?
You're super low.
Yeah, you are
Get
super
closer,
A
big
little bit
boy.
low.
I'm literally the mic is in my
Get it
mouth.
right
Anyway.
in there.
Okay, it's in there. It's in there. I think the question that everybody, including myself, has is why is the reluctancy so hard against multi-streaming? Why does it have to be one match at a time? Because even like, I competed, Josh and I, Steele and I both competed at VCT Masters Berlin. And even that tournament, it felt like it lasted forever. And I'm sure, Sean, you guys were in Champions of last year. The tournament, it felt like it was like a month long because it's only one match at a time, one stream at a time, and the days are super short. So is there no possibility of doing a multi-Twitch thing where there's multiple games going on, A, B, C streams? I guess, like, why is it... What's preventing that?
That's a good question. Look, first of all, there's no definitive answer for any of these things, right? Like, we can do whatever we want. We can slice, we can skin this cat in 1,000 different ways. So again, what I'm about to say, it's definitely not the definitive true. And I'm not also saying would never do it, but I really hate it. And I'm going to tell you why. I think there are two main reasons for not doing double streams. The first one is sports are all about personalities, right? People tune in because they like the pros, because they like the teams, because they have affinity and fandom for an individual. It's all about the storylines and the rivalries and who's on top and who's not. When you have multi-streams, you're forcing viewers to choose to watch match A or match B. And if there's something really nice happening on matchup A and you're watching matchup B, you're simply not following that storyline. So we can't develop fandom, right? Like, it gets into the way of creating those stories. So that's why I don't like BO1s for anything. I think that's one of the big challenges. And of course, it also fragments viewership, which is just, I think, bad. But the other big reason, and this one is very specific to lock-in, is, remember, the goal of lock-in is to introduce the new partner teams to the world. If you have a matchup, and let's just be honest and transparent here, some teams are more popular than others. So if you have a matchup with two really popular teams and a matchup with not so yet popular teams, guess what's going to happen? No one is going to watch that matchup B, which means those teams are not getting introduced to the world as we want to. So we just opted to give everyone equal time and giving viewers the opportunity to see all the 30 teams there.
I commented on Twitter about like how I understand the format. You're basically, you want to debut and showcase all the new teams to the world, and it makes sense. And you don't want to have like a double elimination bracket and like play like a tournament that's potentially several weeks, month long, for a start of the year event when you have this whole league planned out that's going to culminate, whatever the word is, into like this big end of the year tournament. You don't want to have something like super massive to start. Where I don't understand though is you're saying that you're going to split and fragment the viewership, but I feel like with all the co-streams that are happening anyways, like, isn't the viewership kind of like split and fragmented anyways? And as a viewer of tournaments, if I know that there's two matches going on at the same time and I particularly care about one more than the other, I still have both open. And most people have like two monitors going. If they don't, they could like split screen or whatever, or they have like one on the TV, one on an iPad, or 6 consoles. So is that how badly does viewership get split in that regard if people are already multi-watching?
That's a fair point. I think the thing about co-streaming and watch parties is everyone is watching the same content, right? You're just watching it. You just have a different experience because the creators are adding their own thing on top of the show, their own personalities, their bantering, and that's really cool. But everyone is watching the same teams, the same pros, the same storylines. I think that's the main point. We don't care too much about like not having a big number in one channel, because when we do viewership counting, we're just going to sum everything and put, like account for everything. So that's not really the big problem. The problem is more about that storyline piece, right? Like, we want every team to have the opportunity to be exposed to everyone, to the entire, to the entirety of the audience. But then moving into international leagues, then things change, right? Even into Masters and Champions, like this is very specific about the purpose of lock-in. But like your point is very valid. It's just again giving equal opportunities, assuming everyone is just starting fresh.
I mean, I guess I wonder, I don't have this info and I don't think anyone necessarily has this stat yet, but how many people are fans enough of Valorant where they're just going to watch Valorant regardless of the team as opposed to watching their favorite team anyway? Like if I'm like a diehard, I'm only going to watch Sentinels or I'm only going to watch Cloud9, like I'm not going to watch the guard play DSG, right? I'm only going to watch that match anyway. So I wonder how many fans of Valorant are actually true Valorant fans and will watch any match that goes on versus they only going to watch the teams they like or the team that they're invested in anyway.
That's a really good point. Look, without getting too technical, we do a lot of study on audience segmentation and behaviors and why people watch esports, right? And there are 5 main drivers, 5 main reasons why people watch. One is education. I want to see pros playing this game so I can learn and do the same thing on my ranked games. The other one is entertainment. I just like the cool stuff. I like the, flick headshots. I like, like the flashy. I like the opening ceremony, so on and so forth. The third thing is it's a social activity. This is something I do with my friends and we hang out watching esports. The fourth thing is fandom. I watch because I like this pro, this team, and I have affinity with them. I'll watch everything they do. And the final thing is personal stakes, right? That's where like things like prediction come into place. If I predict this team will win, I gain or I lose something depending on the outcome of the match. So yeah, like a portion of the audience will only watch matches from the teams they like for sure. But another good portion will watch for other reasons. So at the end of the day, people, they will make their choices and that's okay. And that's historically also true in every tournament, regardless of the format, matchups with more popular teams will have more viewership. And that's kind of just the nature of the sport,
Mm-hmm.
Can you speak to the differences between like challengers, like the thing Josh just played in? I was watching a team that had to play like 12 hours straight yesterday versus, the VCT tour, which seems to operate on such a different requirement for the players. Like these are 2 best of 3s a day. And I'm guessing you'll never see the same team play 2 best of 3s in a day throughout this tournament. Why is it so different? Like why is the formatting so different? The qualification to the circuit is so brutal compared to the circuit itself.
So I will be completely honest and transparent here. I do not have a ton of context on everything that's happening on all 23 challenger leagues around the world. And here's why. First of all, we're putting a lot of our energy on the international leagues, right? We're also putting a lot of energy on challenger leagues, but because we wanted to start the season and have that very solid tier 2 layer that would give access to international leagues, develop regional communities, we ended up not putting a ton of restrictions on our partners and tournament organizers who are running these competitions. So if you look at the formats across all 23 Challenger Leagues, they vary a lot. So if you ask me, why is the format of the NA Challenger League qualifier that way? I can't really tell you. And that's the true honest answer. With time, you want to see what's working, what's not, and probably put more guardrails around Challenger League so they function better. But the honest, true answer is that I don't know.
Gotcha.
Part of your answer about why you did this, and it seems like one of the major reasons, is to give every single team the spotlight on the mainstream without having multiple games on at the same time, so that all the fans are able to, get to know each of the teams as the original event. But as Josh was saying, and I think as one of the best things that Riot has done is the co-streaming program. Better than any other game developer, better than any other esports game, is the sheer amount of people and gigantic streamers from other games, from this game, that co-stream every single esports event. If you have such a plethora of, co-streamers streaming this event, and you could have more, I would say, competitive integrity to the tournament. And with that, you would actually be adding, if you were to have a multi-stream, that would allow you to have more games played per team. it wouldn't just be single elimination best of 3, and the fans and the viewers would be able to watch teams play more often anyway and get those same storylines. It feels like to me that, considering you already have hundreds of other people co-streaming the event, and you could even split that up into like this 100 stream A, this 100 stream B, and the fans would be able to see these teams more than one time, you would still be able to get the story narrative that you want, and also have the, I would say, larger competitive integrity for the pros and the players. Don't you think that would be a more compelling reason to do a multi-stream setup for such an event like this?
That's fair. That's fair. Look, it could work. It could definitely work. I think it's a smart play. I still think forcing fans and viewers to choose between watching matchup A or B is kind of a shitty experience. If it's like matchup A, it's a team that I like. Matchup B, I don't care about them. Then it's an easy choice. When it's two matchups that you like, I think it sucks.
Yeah, but
you can always go back and watch VODs.
We're in 2023. People have more than one stream open. It's not like people are only going to watch one event or one game. I mean, this is kind of the standard of how internet users are right now. People can watch multiple streams, multiple tournaments.
May I
games.
interject?
Please.
I feel like Leo's already answered this, and I got 5 minutes before I gotta leave. So, is there another topic we could jump to?
Sure.
Look, at the end of the day, it's like a show match tournament, right? Like, this is not a major. This is not a major finals. Like, this is like a way to show the teams to the world, so they all get their little minute of spotlight. Ultimately, hopefully, I think to sum it up, I think we all hope that it's not like this in the future. But for this tournament, honestly, fair enough. I think I think we all agree, like, fair enough. Like, good reasons, honestly.
Did you guys consider doing any seeding?
The seeding thing is the one thing that sucks.
Yeah. So that is another great question.
Or even groups of seeding, maybe not specific seeding, but packets of
Player created seeding. Have them rank the teams.
Yes. Great question. So we did have that conversation, right? And we chose not to, based on the premise that everything is new and we want to give everyone a fresh start. Because a lot of, of course we could look at records from the past 2 years, but just like the context of these leagues and these tournaments now is so different. A lot of rosters changed tremendously, right? Teams that were not selected for partnership, all of those players went somewhere else, like Optic's a good example. So we just said, let's give everyone a fresh start. The one thing we did that I'm not sure people noticed is there are no teams from the same territory, the same league on that first matchup, right? So we don't have Americas versus Americas right out of the bat. So that's the only thing we did. And it was, of course, all randomized. So we would draw one team, then we would draw the second one. If they were from the same bracket, we would just move them down. But there was no seeding in terms of strongest teams.
I have a question about the winner of this tournament means that region gets an extra slot at Masters. So there are a little bit of stakes on this. So it's not just
correct
to debut. It does have a little bit of stakes involved.
It does.
Was this so is this something that was we want to give this spot as a reward so that people don't just show up and just play, or what specifically was that kind of that extra master slot reward for?
Yeah, so look, objectives of the tournament, we talked about it, right? Celebrating new VCT, introducing teams to the world. But for every tournament we do, we want to give people reasons to care, and not only fans but also pros. So why am I playing on this tournament? And one of the big ways to do that is having stakes. So the stakes for this competition are you get an extra seat for your region at Masters. So it's not the team. We don't want people I'm qualified for Masters. I don't I'm not gonna give my best during the IL season, and then prize pool. But that's the point. How do we give people reasons to care? So we think that is a good enough stake that is kind of in line with the format of the tournament, and again, giving enough reasons to care.
One of the concerns that I saw from some players is that half of the bracket will be played 2 weeks after the other half. Sure. And that may give a competitive advantage to those teams that get to wait and watch everybody else see what what comps they're running, what maps they like to pick in the map draft. Was that considered at all?
Absolutely, and that is just honestly, I think a weak part of the format. I don't like that. I wish we didn't have to do that. We did for two reasons. One is teams are going to spend a really long time in Sao Paulo, Brazil, right? Because they have to fly in before. There are a bunch of prep. They have to do stage recon set up before, of course, playing. And then by dividing into two groups, we can stagger arrivals, and folks will, in total, spend fewer days in Sao Paulo. Unless you're in the first group and you get to finals, then you're going to be there for the entire run, but you're winning, so that's a good thing. But like doing that reduces the amount of time people are sitting in Sao Paulo and waiting. And remember, while teams are there, they're also working to set up in their hub city. So like we're taking time away from them building practice facilities, finding, housing and all that stuff on their new city. So trying to reduce that time is one. And the second thing is just more cost efficient, because if you have all 32 teams there at once, it doesn't change much as far as hotel nights goes, because you still have the same number of people and the same number of nights. But like we don't have to build 32 practice rooms simultaneously. We can build 16. And I say cost efficient. And let me just be clear. I don't want people thinking, well, Riot is trying to save money and they will, buy yachts and caviar with that money. We have a fixed amount of money we are investing in lock-in, and it's a shit ton of money, like millions and millions of dollars. So we always try to optimize money for things that go on camera that fans see, right? Like fans, like if we burn cash on things like visas, that's not going to make the show better for fans at home. So like we try to maximize the stage looking awesome and features and like a bunch of other stuff that fans will see. So it was just more cost efficient to do it that way.
Does Riot plan to have like more features this year on these teams, particularly at lock-in, like to get the storylines going?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's actually a big part of lock-in. We want to take the opportunity that all of the partner teams are there to do a bunch of stuff. So we are doing a bunch of media engagement. We're doing photo shoots. We're doing a bunch of features and content capture to hopefully fuel the entire first season. We're also doing press conferences. We're also doing, I don't think we talked about this publicly yet, but we're doing a team owners conference. I'll probably keep the details private for a few reasons, but like we're inviting all team owners down to Sao Paulo to have a conference to kind of kick off that season. So yeah, like we're really using that opportunity to.
Will that team owner conference be publicized, or is that going to be a private event, which will then be leaked to the media after?
I think will probably be the latter. And look, I'll be honest, like confidentiality is a big part of what we're going to talk about, because the SOAP partnership system is about bringing in teams as partners to help us build the sport. And dude, it's just really hard to have conversations without things leaking. I would love to share all of the plans, event locations, formats with teams in advance and say, give us your feedback. Why is this bad? But historically, it's hard to do that because things leak. So I am hoping that will be a good opportunity to have that conversation with team owners.
George, I know you're listening. Get on it. Get ready. We're all going to be waiting for you. Easy money.
I have to head out to practice. I just had one last question before I leave. I see a guitar, a drum kit, and a keyboard in the background. I got two questions. Which is your favorite instrument to play, and what's the instrument you're best at?
Oh, I think I'm probably best at drums, and it's probably my favorite as well. I just grew up doing like drums and percussion. Like I play a little bit of everything, but I'm also quite mediocre of everything. Yeah, drums is probably my thing. And
I hope you're not mediocre at head of global esports. I hope you're excellent.
I hope I'm not mediocre at my job. Otherwise, I'll starve to death.
Wow.
That was very disrespectful, Steel.
Wow.
What?
I was very disrespectful.
DSG Steel, everyone.
Disappointed in DSG Steel.
Wow.
Oh, man.
That's at
Okay.
Josh Newson on Twitter.
Clip it and ship it. I appreciate the time. I gotta go. Sorry for cutting it short. You guys carry on without me. Slasher, try to quicken up the questions.
Okay. Thanks, Josh.
I like this, like going out message. I like that.
A quick going out message for the fans. We'll be back stronger. All right, I gotta go.
Bye.
All right, see you. Phil.
I can probably stay a little bit longer, but in a few I'll also have to bounce. As you know, there's a bunch of things happening. But yeah, I'm happy to say a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, do you guys have any other questions about the bracket or format of Sao Paulo, or we can move on to some?
No, I think everything's been said. I mean, I don't really have questions. It's just the format kind of, obviously it's not optimal, but I totally understand, right? 32 teams. Even at the CSGO major, Rod, they never had 32 teams there at once. It was 16 teams max.
That's fair.
They just did it in waves. So I totally understand. Like, that's a lot of hotel rooms. That's a huge cost. But like the teams getting that advantage being like 2 weeks early, they even get the practice time. Like, they get to practice their side of the bracket, and then they get to scrim against the other side of the bracket when they stay there. They get to change their comps and watch their opponents. That's like the one thing that's a little bit weird. And then obviously, like, it does suck that 16 of the teams are going to go home playing one best of 3, which is what, a maximum of 3 out of the 7 maps. When you play best of 3s, you have to be good on 6 maps. So it's really not even a good barometer to those teams if they're like quality, you know. And sucks that the lack of seeding with like Sentinels and Fnatic playing, you know, like these are all things that are just very hard to avoid based on the things you've said. That's why I've kind of remained quiet.
I get that completely. I think on the teams watching the other play, the same thing will be true for the opposite, right? Like, while I'm now in Sao Paulo, I'm also watching the first group of teams playing. But then, of course, I understand that gap is not ideal. But yeah, again, as with every decision that we do, there's always a trade-off, right? Like, there's no perfect solution. You have to have to make a choice, and it will have pros and cons. I think again, there's no absolute truth here, but I am particularly very confident that this is the right choice. I think it's going to be incredibly hyped to watch. Every match matters. It's, of course, cutthroat, unforgiving, ruthless, but I think that's, and everything is new, right? But I think that's exactly what will make the tournament super awesome.
Oh, it'll be awesome. Like, it'll be insane. Like, I will have no complaints when it's going on. I'm just thinking from like the player's point of view. Like,
totally.
Yeah, I'm stoked for this tournament. It's gonna be so much fun to watch.
Yeah,
Agreed.
I am too. Okay, so we can move on to other VCT 2023 things. So Masters Tokyo is going to be the only Masters event of the year. One of my biggest critiques, I think, especially last year's Valorant circuit, is that, okay, in Counter-Strike, there's definitely, it is accurate to say there's oversaturation in the Counter-Strike esports scene. There's too many tournaments. ESL and Blast don't really even work together. There's not really a cohesive circuit or system. There's like 20, 30 events, and not each of them mean as much when there's so many tournaments. However, in Valorant, there's so few international tournaments, and this really is kind of how Riot has traditionally ran League of Legends, with Worlds and MSI being the only 2 international tournaments a year. And Valorant has been a little bit better, but there's been actually pretty few teams at the Masters events. There's only going to be 1 Masters event this year. Do you feel like there could be a middle ground between how little international competition that there currently is and the plethora of international competition that there is in CS?
So look, I think the evergreen state of our season is actually quite healthy. I don't think we have too little international tournaments, right? With 2 Masters a year and 1 Champions, I think that's actually quite good and quite healthy. There's always opportunity for more and do new and different things, of course, but I think that's good enough, to be honest. And without repeating myself, I think this year is just a unique year, just given the nature of leagues are right starting now. Teams are moving to their hub cities. So, like, think about it. If with IL starting in March, we simply could not do 2 Masters after that. We would have to do 1 Masters at the beginning of the season, which we transformed into lock-in. So, like, we still have 3 international tournaments. I agree with you. 2 is probably not good enough. We want 3. But yeah, I think we definitely like shorter cycles that are more punchy and give more trophy lift opportunities to teams. some of them will be in the form of global competitions. Some of them will be in the form of regional competitions. I think that the fact that these leagues are international add a very interesting cross-regional play into the mix that you get to see week over week, right? You will see 100 Thieves versus Loud. You will see DRX versus Zeta, and I think that's already a quite interesting thing that we never had, and we're going to see that now. But I personally think 3 events a year is actually quite healthy, and that will be back in 2024 and beyond.
Now that's good. Sorry, you go ahead.
No, I was just stoked because, I mean, I love watching these big tournaments, and I felt like this off season has been so long.
Yeah.
And like, I love watching these competitive teams play and all the creativity that shines when they play. I mean, can you speak to like the off season this year, Leo? I'm not sure if you guys have anything planned or what that's gonna look like, how long that's gonna be. You know, if you're offering to give out like an open space in the calendar again, what's that looking like this year?
Really good question. So, I apologize, I choked on water. I said I'm not coming in looking to change formats, right? That's something that's working really well. The off season is something we're all looking at to, do something. I think we want an off season that is somewhat long, like a month long off season only in December. I think it's just not big enough for a couple of reasons. Like, it doesn't give pros and teams the opportunity to take proper time off, especially around the holidays. Well, on this side of the world, right? Like the Western holidays, but also it doesn't give fans the opportunity to miss the sport, right? Like, and we want that, like it's content fatigue is a thing. If you're always on, the thing becomes less special. So like giving that breathing room for people to actually miss VAL, to say, holy shit, I cannot wait for January for VCT to be back is a good thing that we want. With all that said, I think 4 months is a bit too long. With, champions in August, we have a pretty long off season. So we are taking a hard look at what can we do to make that moment more interesting. One of the things definitely is opportunity for third-party events and competitions. I just think we Riot need to put a little bit more calories on the off season. I don't know exactly what that means yet. Maybe it's helping with more promotion, maybe is making contributions to prize pools to increase the stakes of some of these competitions. Like, there are many things we can do, but they are definitely a big part of how we make off season interesting.
I think you guys did a pretty good job this time around. Like, especially as far as like keeping the buzz going. Like, there was the whole roster mania followed by game changers. Like, man, those were so hype. And then it just felt like the hype kind of died down a little bit in December, kind of speaking to what you said about the holidays and stuff. I'm definitely biased, but the Tarek Ludwig event just seemed so awesome. Like,
It was really awesome.
Yeah.
Red Bull was great too. Home Grounds is a good event.
True.
Yeah, that was a great event to watch too. Yeah, both of those events were just like bangers. And I think if those were put in the middle of the calendar, they definitely wouldn't be as exciting because they would be stacked up against your guys' broadcast. But it was like exactly what I needed at the right time. So like fixed my, it got me like through it, because I just crave these tournaments.
Oh yeah, that's really nice to hear.
I definitely think we understand, you really want an off season to give the players a break for one. You want the off season to allow, there to be some scarcity so people are really anticipating the next season. But at the same time, I do think fans would appreciate maybe a little bit more of the Ludwig Tarek Invitational, the Red Bull event. Not too many, but just some to give the fans a taste of what could come. Doesn't have to be gigantic, 32 team, 16 team tournaments, but 8 teams, maybe one from each region. I think would maybe placate a bit more of the fans during that off season.
I agree with that.
Agreed.
I think we can do better with the off season.
Are you at all concerned with the appearance that now there is some negative effects, maybe, of how you view it, in the Tarek Ludwig Invitational. Of course, Sentinels have only, I think, had a week and a half of practice time, and T1 had to fly all the way from Korea to play in NA. But the top two teams were two Challengers teams, and the two Challengers teams beat the partnership teams. Do you have any concern that if you ran events with Challengers teams and partner teams at the same time, that Challengers teams could beat partner teams and it would make Riot look bad because the partner teams that they chose are losing to tier 2 teams? Or do you see it as a good way to be able to mix the competition?
I think it would probably be sorry, it would certainly be the latter. Like, challenger leagues being popular and successful is not a bad thing. It's great for the sport, right? They exist for a reason, and those leagues being successful is a very good thing. Now, I'll say something that might sound a bit controversial, but we chose orgs as partners. We did not choose rosters. So I think what will inevitably happen as the international leagues kick off, the best teams who might be geeking as at challenger leagues, I think they'll naturally either ascend via ascensions or be picked up by partner teams. That's kind of inevitable. Just giving the size and structure and support we're giving all of these orgs. I think inevitably the best players and the best competition will happen at the international league layer. But again, it's not bad at all if challenger leagues are great and if the competition is good and if teams are good. That's a good thing.
Speaking of challenger leagues, Riot gave that to like Knights this year, right? Like Knights is running all the broadcasts in NA. Is that right? Or
Yeah,
that's correct. Knights are running the NA challenger leagues.
is there ever going to be a world where Riot runs Challenger? Just because I have this inkling that the Challenger scene in Valorant is going to be unlike the Challenger scene in any other esport, like the tier 2 scene. So like MDL in CSGO or Challenger League in League of Legends. Just because of the org names, the player notoriety in these leagues, and the co-streams in Valorant particularly that Riot has allowed, I think there's going to be pop in co-streams. There's going to be teams like G2, TSM, Sentinel, or not Sentinel, or like the Guard, like all these big orgs are just in challengers. And I think the viewership is inevitable, especially with only 5 NA teams making, I mean, I'm sure Rod's going to get to this in like a future question, but only 5 teams made it to the VCT Americas. So 25 pro players in our region, some of those players or Brazilian players because they're just better. Like there's not that many American pros because of that. So the challenger scene is just going to be ridiculously strong in Valorant. Like, what are Riot's goals with this challenger scene? Like, if you can speak to them, and like, where do you guys see it going?
So I think that go back to the very original design of the new VCT. Look, we could do a first party Riot operated leagues around the world. That's kind of what we do with League of Legends, right? I think now we have 12 leagues around the world. At some point we had like 15 or 16. We could do that. We chose a different path where instead of diluting some of our investments, we want to make 3 really great S tier international leagues, right? And that's where we put most of our calories and our energy. And I hope you all see that when the league go live. Like, the studios are going to be awesome. The production is going to be incredible. Everything is supposed to be really S tier. So if we were to produce on top of that another 23 leagues, that's just too much, right? And people can think, well, it's $1 billion company, but things as they are, it's already a huge investment. We're talking like hundreds of millions of dollars to make the sport work. So it's not like we have infinite cash to put at the sport. So like, it just more first party operated things dilute the investment. And they all like, do you rather have 3 really great leagues or 26 mediocre productions, right? And that's the choice that we made. With all that said, challenger leagues play a really important role in the sport, right? Because one, they offer a product that is highly localized. So let's look at Brazil as an example, because you mentioned that. If you're a Brazilian fan, you have the Americas League and you have Loud and MIBR and Korea, right? Like that is the S tier product. But if you want to watch something that is fully Brazilian, you can watch the Challengers League in Brazil. So that's the number one reason, a fully, highly localized, cater to you product. And the second thing it's really a path to pro, right? To create a path for pros to access the top, highest levels of the sport, for organizations who want to fight their way through and ascend to IL. So like they play a really important role, but I do not see as of now a future in which we would produce those leagues ourselves.
So
I was just,
I'm not saying this is your responsibility, but in the past few days, there have been several broadcaster talent and players who have accused your previous partner, Nerd Street, of owing tens of thousands of dollars that are over 5 or 6 months late. The CEO of Nerd Street wrote back to one of the casters saying, on top of we investing heavily in subsidizing the cost of VCT for the past 2 years, because we believe that would recoup the investment as the Valorant ecosystem scaled up. Unfortunately, because Riot decided to go in a different direction and we're no longer part of that ecosystem, we now have to eat that loss, which makes it even more difficult to catch up. This is in regards to paying all the money that they owe. Now, I know it is not your responsibility for Nerd Street to pay all of this, but do you not feel like you have some responsibility considering you gave Nerd Street the operation and they have dropped the ball and are now kind of, throwing you under the bus about you are the reason why they are not able to pay talent and players? And are you worried that this could happen with Knights or another secondary organizer if you're not the ones that are organizing the tier 2, tier 3 scene?
Look, I'm going to happily answer that. I'll just say I'll probably have to bounce. So if you want to do one last question after this one, that would be awesome. But yeah,
Sure.
So look, we do a ton of vetting on all of our partners before we choose them, right? At the end of the day, what we provide to tournament organizers and partners is the opportunity to run a competition that they can commercialize free of charge, right? So what we're telling them, hey, we're going to give you one of the most popular video games in the world. We're going to let you run a competition and we're going to let you commercialize and take all that money. Now, that means they're taking some risk as well. It's a business, right? They're bearing the cost of production, but they can also commercialize, and it's their decision to take that risk or not. We talked to some partners that they're like, hey, I'd rather not take the risk. I'm not sure I'll be able to commercialize this thing. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to sell sponsorship, so I'll rather not take the risk. Some partners do. They see a huge opportunity. Valorant keeps growing, one of the most popular video games in the world, and they take that opportunity. With all that said, it's their own business, right? We cannot interfere on their commercial relationships with the people that they hire. Now, is that very unfortunate? That's very unfortunate. It's unacceptable that a tournament organizer is just not paying people. And I think that is just one of the reasons why we are not working with them again this year.
That's fair.
Okay.
That's a good answer.
Fair enough.
Okay, so I know you said
I have a good question to end to round it off, Splash.
Please.
Wait. Can we do two? Can we do two?
If you could do two in like 5 minutes, we could do two.
Yes, we got it. Go,
right.
Spencer.
I bet you it might be the same because it's very recent. It's very fresh. All the teams and players for that matter that didn't actually qualify to make it to challengers. The thing that I'm seeing so much on my Twitter is, well, what do we do now for the rest of this year? What is there for us? Are we just on the sidelines? Are we forced to watch the rest of the year? Is there anything for us that we can actually practice for and look forward to? Or are we just, 1 year, maybe next year, until then, see you in ranked, is there any plan? Is there anything for these people that didn't actually qualify? Is there anything in the pipeline coming up that we don't know about for this year?
Look, I'll say two things. First one is the sport is intentionally competitive, right? You're supposed to be watching the best of the best, and that means some people will not make it. So like that is intentional. The other thing I'll say is Premiere is coming, right? And you might have heard because we did a beta in Brazil, we did some early announcements, and we think that will be really, really awesome, right? It's going to cover that gap between ranked play and the professional league. And it's going to give that opportunity for people who want to participate in organized play without necessarily being in the professional leagues. And are really excited. We know it's a big challenge to bunch of games tried before to create that in-game experience. It's hard, but we're really, really excited and really encouraged. So Premiere is coming, and like we'll probably be ready to talk more about that soon.
Okay.
So essentially, GG go next. See you next year.
Yeah.
Part of the deal.
maybe.
Okay. Hey, that just wanted to put that out there.
So mine is this is a discussion we had earlier in the show. We talked a lot about it with Disguised Host about esports is not exactly doing great right now. A lot of esports organizations are losing money hand over fist. Almost nobody is profitable. No one can monetize correctly. And we talked about the different ways that teams can monetize. One of which, most of which, is from the developers themselves. Does Riot have any plans to include things such as team skins or team gun skins with the names of the organizations, more than just the champions bundle at the end of the year? Will there be more ways for organizations and players to monetize through the game itself?
So the short answer is yes. The slightly longer answer is we are super proud and excited about the new partnership model. And one of the things that I think it's quite innovative on that model is the financials of it, right? Like we learned from 10 plus years of doing esports, seeing what works, what doesn't. And like our model is actually, I think, super strong and robust in a way of giving a business opportunity for teams to thrive and be successful. So I'm not sure this information is public or not, but if it's not, it's going to become public now. We're supporting partner teams in a few different ways. The first one is a stipend, right? We have a lump sum of money that's quite healthy that a team receives for just being in the league. And we want to give them predictable revenue. You know how much you're going to get, so you're playing against that. The second thing is a revenue share from in-game goodies. As you know, the past 2 years, the Champions Bundle has been incredibly successful, and we're sharing 50% of that money with teams. It's a shit ton of money. Teams that participated in Champions in 2022 got over $1 million just for being there. So that's that. We're also giving teams a big portion of the revenue for their team-branded content that's coming. I'm not going to say when because that's still in the works. But even part of the team selection process, we work with teams to build together types of in-game content with their own brands, and we are definitely looking at that. The team-branded content also comes with a minimum guarantee. So even if your team is not yet super popular, you're going to have, again, a quite healthy number with a minimum guarantee. We also have incentives. So on top of the baseline that every team gets, we have a bunch of things you can do if you go above and beyond that you get a second sum of money that is also quite healthy. And we did that to kind of align the incentives for teams to work with us to grow the sport. And those things are like, if you host an event around champions to get people together to watch, that unlocks you some money. If you do co-marketing around some of the product beats, that allows, that gives you some extra money. And then the final two things are, we also gave teams a relocation stipend for teams that are moving from outside of the hub cities to the new IL. That's like a one-time thing, but we wanted to support them because we know how hard it is to open a new legal entity and find practice facilities in these cities, et cetera, et cetera. And finally, there's prize pool, right? That's also quite healthy. So with all that said, I think teams can really thrive in the VCT and playing in Valorant, right? We're giving them predictable revenue, a very healthy amount, but we're also sharing success. If both the esports content and the team brand content does well, they'll see a lot of money.
That's pretty cool that you guys are doing like incentives for the teams.
Yeah, I love it.
To create content for the community, and it's like you have some kind of control over the type of content that you're pushing. So I really like that, hearing that from you guys. That's super cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's great to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, great job. Love that answer.
Thanks a lot. This is super fun, folks. Thank you. I am totally down to doing more of these things. Like I want to be active on Twitter. I'm not usually too much on Reddit, to be honest. But like I want to be more and just talk more to folks like yourselves and anyone who's into Valorant esports and want to hear more about what we're doing, why we're doing things. So like you have my commitment that I will be available and out there talking about everything that we do.
We appreciate.
Well, I really do appreciate you coming on. You're
My
welcome to
pleasure.
come in every week and listen to us complain and talk about the scene every time. We'd love to, bring you back.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll be back. This is great.
Make
Thanks
a
so much,
Valorant
Leo.
World Cup happen. I want the Valorant
Oh,
World Cup.
Okay. We'll
That
talk
would be
about that one
sick.
next time.
That would actually be so sick. Please.
Yeah,
Yeah.
can
Oh
we
my
get that?
god. Like ESWC. Oh my god, that would be so sick
Yeah,
if we had a world.
eSports was built on WCG and ESWC.
WCG, yeah.
And we really don't have nation versus nation anymore, especially with all teams coming together from all different nationalities. I think it would be fantastic in Valorant.
I like the idea. Again, we'll talk about that next time, I promise.
All right, so that means it's gonna happen. You heard it here first. Valorant World Cup coming.
No, I did not say that. Okay.
Thank you, Leo.
Cheers, folks. Thanks a
Thanks
lot.
so much,
Thank
Leo.
you.
Have a good-
See you.
Alrighty.
All right,
Very
he's
good
gone.
answer.
Time to roast. No, I'm kidding.
Did you hear what he
Yeah,
said about
honestly, I was super impressed.
Yeah, very, very well spoken.
Yep. Trained very well, dodged what he needed to. Very well spoken on the answers that were tough. And I think, honestly, he did a pretty good job of making me feel positive towards the future, especially with the answers in terms of in-game revenue and addressing the issues that esports has long term. In terms of like the format and the bracket, I really do sympathize with Riot. They have so many teams. It's so long. If they really don't want to do multi-stream, there's not really many things they could do. If they're not going to do multi-stream, they can't do Swiss. They can't do double LM. They can't do all these other options, and they're very limited. So I feel like I understand
It just
in that way.
It was like my one gripe about the big Valorant tournaments compared to CS was having to go and be gone for a month for a tournament that if there is multi-streams, like multi-games at the same time, like bro, you can get this tournament knocked out in a week, maybe 2 at most, instead of dragging it on to be, I feel like when we were in Berlin and we made it to the semifinals, I feel like we were there for like 3.5 weeks. So
And there just wasn't that many matches.
no, and
which is like the
there's so
problem.
many, I feel like we went like 5 or 6 days of no matches. We're just sitting, just practicing the entire time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally understand. Yeah, like I had all of my complaints. I even said them all, but I
Mhm.
understand. Like, I understand everything he said and how we ended up in this scenario and why it would be so difficult to end up in another world where it's not this scenario. So he did a very good job of explaining it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand. It just doesn't make it suck any less for the
I
player.
mean, I really
Yeah.
do think in the current world of co-streaming, they could experiment with multi-stream, and I feel like it would go pretty well, to be honest. I don't think that fans would lose the narrative of like who's playing and totally miss out on games.
It makes sense early on, but like even like the NFL, doesn't the NFL have like 3, 4, 5 games on at once?
Yeah,
You, like,
NFL
pay
Sundays.
you can pay for like ESPN whatever and there's actually somebody who will actually go
NFL
through.
ticket.
Yeah, and they'll
But it's
go
a little
through and, like,
different.
switch. Is it?
Like it's the same thing as like what we were talking about earlier. It's like traditional sports have localized fan bases that are just always going to be
Very
there.
true. Very
Whereas
true.
like these weird orgs that are part of ECT that we might have never watched before, we have to be like forced to watch them. Otherwise, we're going to choose the other stream like every
Sure.
time.
And that's why I'm saying like early on, like that's fair. I get it. But moving forward, like 2, maybe 3 years from now, if they're still standing hard on the only one game at a time to force viewership for these other teams, I don't think. I guess that there's a time and a place for that makes sense. And as long as and it seemed like he was very honest, like it's not like necessarily long term and things will change. So, it hopefully it does change in the future.
I mean, at the same time, though, like
look at League of Legends. The league has like literally 2 international tournaments a year, and we're how many years has League been global esport? Years? 10 years maybe?
yes.
And there's what
Yes.
MSI and Worlds, and that's it. And there's nothing else, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, one of the huge advantages for Valorant is the parity. I mean, we've seen so many regions like Japan and Singapore,
Mhm.
And Asia and Brazil was right there, and like every region really has a good chance of winning the championship. Unlike in League of Legends, where it's basically Korea versus China every single year, maybe Europe can get into semifinals, and North America is never going to win Worlds ever. We are going to be 80 years old. They will never even get to the final, let alone win a World. It's not going to happen.
We have Double Lift and Bjergsen on 100 Thieves this year. It's
That's
over.
true.
We got this.
They're coming in last.
NA Copium.
They're coming in last place.
Okay, whatever.
No, but on a completely tangential point here, like that was so sweet that like Leo gave you all those gun buddies to give out later, Slasher. That's SLASHER on Twitter.
DM him.
Be sure, get your Riot gun buddy
for free too.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you,
course.
Sean. Also, I just want to clarify, I wasn't starting to quote unquote start drama with the Nerd Street thing. However, I do think when he is talking about how they don't want to have the responsibility of organizing everything, and they did pick Nerd Street to be like the organizer for the last couple of years, and now Nerd Street's CEO is kind of blaming Riot for like why they're not paying players. I do feel like that's a deflection on Nerd Street, and that's not fair to Riot. However, I do think Riot bears some responsibility because they picked Nerd Street to begin with. And I really hope that like we don't have the same problem with Knights later in the year. I hope that we don't get to December and Knights hasn't paid people for like 6 months.
Has there been any complaints about Knights yet? Because I know with Nerd Street there were many complaints. Like even 100. Like my team had problems with the way the admins were running it, and I mean Valorant was super noob at that point, but I feel like I kept seeing I saw a lot of negative stuff about Nerd Street early on. I don't think I've seen that yet about Knights, and that's no disrespect to Nerd Street by any means, but
Knights has definitely done a better job, but they're still a small organization, and I guess things can pile up. So there's been no problems as of yet. They're definitely doing a better job than Nerd Street, but I really hope we don't get into the same situation later on in the year, because it's really not cool to the players and the casters. And this is on Nerd Street. Get your shit together. What the fuck are you guys doing? How are you owing $5,000-$6,000 to multiple people for over 5 or 6 months, where they have to chase you 8 times with invoices, and that the CEO has to personally respond blaming Riot for like why you're not paying? Get a fucking grip and do your job. Pay the people.
Dang.
Asshole.
I'm not gonna lie. I might have to go back into like my invoices and see if they all got paid.
Yeah,
I just assumed that
paid.
I just assume I was getting paid, but I'm really doubting. I didn't even know that that was a thing until you literally asked him. I should probably read your doc before we go live next time.
Well, I've seen
He's so mad. He's molding.
I think Harmful was complaining. Melanie, who's the caster, was complaining. Sully was complaining. All like, decent sized casters.
Yeah, the goats.
Yeah. So this is not just like small, which would be even worse if it's like a smaller player with less clout. That's why they're taking advantage of them. But this is like reasonably big people with big followings who are getting screwed over. Not cool. Not cool at all. So we never actually got to the Tarek Ludwig Invitational or the Meta or ShahZaM. Are you guys down to talk a little bit?
I think it's time to wrap it up there, bud.
Maybe we got like 10,
It's
15
been
minutes.
3 hours.
Yeah, I think it's time to wrap it up.
10, 15 minutes. Yes.
I think it's time to wrap it up.
Great.
It's time to wrap it up.
Great. 10 minutes. We go quickly through. Yeah, I'll just ask the questions that I have. So we don't got to recap the entire ShahZaM Sentinels beef. I will say though, when I was co-streaming with Hiko during the LCQ, I said on your stream that my sources told me that some people within Sentinels did not want to play with Shroud, and that the decision to have Shroud on the team was made by the organization, not necessarily the players, and it was done because Sentinels wanted to make sure they got into franchising. At the same time,
yes,
Shroud was not the reason they lost. Shroud actually played pretty well, which I also said on the stream, and ShahZaM did not play so well in LCQ. However, in this whole thing, I want to ask, whose side are you on, ShahZaM or Rob Moore? For me, ShahZaM really helped build this team from the beginning. He was one of the best players at the start. He was one of the top streamers and content creators for Sentinels. He had to switch roles off a Jet to play Sova to allow Tens to get into his main role. So he even played off role for the betterment of the team. They still won the first LAN, the first championship. He helped build Sentinels into a championship team. And for me, Rob Moore is acting like a 13-year-old Twitter like VLR poster. And if I really had to pick between the two, I'm going to go on ShahZaM's side. It's hard to really see if Rob really, quote unquote, promised him a spot. But I honestly believe ShahZaM's words that I would say that Rob verbally gave him like a verbal agreement that he would be on the team. But Rob kind of seems honestly like your usual Valorant competitive poster, VLR poster. 2 days later, when announcing the Halo team, he made another subtweet about Shroud taking shots at ShahZaM that had nothing to do with them. It was announcing their new Halo team.
Dude,
I feel bad for the
petty.
new.
Yeah,
It's really petty. I feel like you're even disrespecting the new Halo players. They have like some legendary players like Lethal and Snakebite on that team. Why are you ruining their announcement to take a shot at ShahZaM about Shroud? Like, what are you doing here?
The thing is,
for me, I got to pick the two.
I don't
I'm with ShahZaM.
understand. I feel like Rob Moore has been very like not disconnected, but like he's been very hands off publicly. You know, he hasn't actually like. I don't think I remember a time seeing him do something like that. And I was surprised to see him kind of like stoop down to that level the way he did it. You know, if I had to pick sides, like, bro, I can speak from experience, even with Sean and knowing Sean's experience. Like, I have definitely been promised things by organization owners that the second it comes time for them to honor their word, all of a sudden they're like, no, I never said that. No, that's not what I said. It's like, okay, dude, you know. So I'm always going to be a player forward person. So if I had to pick a side, I'm taking ShahZaM's side. But I think like that's like, I don't know. I don't.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. Whether he was actually promised it or guaranteed a spot or not, you know, who knows.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely believe what ShahZaM said. I also heard that behind the scenes, but I think he could have handled it better. I don't think like that was the best way to go about telling the scene. I understand he was pretty upset with the content piece. I don't know. Yeah, like Spencer said, we've been wronged several times, probably by a lot of orgs in our coming up. So I totally understand why Shaz is like super mad about it. And I agree with what you said, Rod. I think like he built this team from the ground up. And when Sentinels first entered Valorant, I don't think their brand as an org was that big. Like, I didn't even know who Sentinels was back then, like as an org, other than Booga or whatever that guy was.
That was the org. It was Booga.
Yep.
He won the Fortnite World Cup, put the org on the map by himself, and then it was the Valorant team that took them to the next level. It was not Rob Moore. 0% Rob Moore, 100% Booga, Tens, and ShahZaM.
But I mean, at the same time, I understand. Like the guy's just trying to protect his investment. You know, like that's what he works for. It's like I don't know. Like I understand both sides here.
It's hard to take sides without knowing every single thing and knowing exactly what happened, right? And I don't think Sean or I are willing to really go out there and do that. At least what it seems.
I definitely believe what Shaz said,
Mm-hmm.
but he also knows he should probably get that shit in writing. Like he's been wronged by orgs too in CS, and it just sucks because like you want to trust people. You do. You want to treat them like a friend instead of a business partner, but that's just not that's not the way to play ball out here, apparently.
Listen, what did Steele say before he left? DTA. Literally DTA. When it comes to everything organization, DTA.
Okay, Ludwig Targ Invitational. The Guard, the best team in the world now, or was this just a fun event and does not really mean anything going forward?
Little bit of both. I think the Guard is going to be pretty fire. Like I always thought they were insane in the Killjoy meta, and now that Chamber's gone, I feel like they're going to reemerge as like one, probably potentially the best team in challenge. Like they're going to be really, really good this year, I think, and they're going to be able to beat a lot of these VCT teams. Probably if they were to meet them in a server, but they never will. So I would be fearful of the guard. That said, I think you can't really take much away from Sentinels games. I have a lot of faith in Def as an in-game leader and Don as the coach. Like they're gonna look like Exa, except with significantly better players. Like Saucy and Pancata are nuts, and Tens looked ridiculous. So I'm giga confident about Sentinels. Probably too confident. Like I think they have potential to be one of the best teams in the world. Like just based on the skill on this roster and what I've seen the people at the helm do tactically on other teams. So not worried about them. Yeah, I was surprised TSM bounced back there. That was cool. Yeah, I really enjoyed the tournament. What did you guys think?
You know what's funny is if you look at when the guard heated up last year as well, and this year, it was both after a player break, like after a down season. And our old coach of 100 Thieves, Frost, aka Hector, convinced me that the reason why the guard came out so hot early is because when everybody else took a break, they always grind. They've been practicing more than most teams. And if that is the case, which I might be just throwing out something wildly here, but if that is the case, then they deserve it. It's just like, how do they stop what happened last year when everybody can, like, now that everyone's practicing again, now that everyone's like playing catch up, like they're ahead right now. Can they stay ahead? I don't know. I don't even know if that's necessarily true. That's just what I was led to believe. So
those guys are grinders, man. They spent like 3 months in Texas boot camping. Like that is absurd. They're willing to sacrifice it all. I believe in the guard.
But how do they make it so that what happened last year doesn't happen again? Where they started off super hot, they qualified for that first, what was it, Masters? They went to the Masters, they went 0-2, and then they were just like, they never got back to their former, like they were like kind of bad the rest of last year. No,
I think that was an anomaly. That was, I think, one of their first lands for almost all of the players on that team that are all so young. And now that they've gotten that experience out of them, obviously we see here at the Invitational, they're ready to go. I cannot believe no one picked up Trent. All you VCT teams screwed up for not picking up Trent, because I cannot believe that didn't happen. I think that they're going to be fine going forward, especially on land.
Surely he had offers.
I mean, apparently, I mean,
it's not like the guard is some tiny org. I'm sure they gave him like a decent offer too.
Do you think Ye could have gone anywhere and he picked C9? Or I don't even know if we've ever talked about this.
Yeah, I think Ye could have gone anywhere.
Yes, I also think so too.
Yeah.
I mean, I think going into the offseason, C9 to me were the best team in NA. So I feel like he picked the best team with a spot open that they needed. It was the most perfect fit. We don't know how they're going. Cloud9 was actually supposed to be one of the teams playing at the Invitational, but they dropped out. Maybe they don't feel ready. Maybe they just wanted to scrim more, but not really sure how they're looking at the moment. But I think that was still the best choice for him.
Well, I have a question for Sean. I'm putting Sean on the spot. 100 Thieves Ye or 100 Thieves Cryo?
That's a good question. I mean, they're both.
That is a good question.
I'm just saying, like, if we're putting people, if this is like the last few minutes, I want to put you on the spot here.
I don't know. I would probably have to have like long phone calls with like both of them, but I know Ye was definitely interested in joining 100 Thieves. Like he was like messaging me at one point. He was like, "Why are you not here?" Because the news hadn't been released yet that I wasn't going to coach the team.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he had his options available to him. And Ye is, I mean, Cryo's like a grinder that's super young, but Ye is that person that at several points in his career would like reach out to people for advice.
Mm-hmm.
And anyone that has done that in esports that like I know that has done that is successful. There's like a handful of them. Like Stewie is one of them. Ye is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I think Mel from like Cloud9 White is one of them. There's like several people like that aren't afraid to ask for help. Those people are always successful, I feel like. So I'm a big Yay believer. I think even with the Chamber nerfs, like he's gonna be insane. Yeah.
So you're saying 100 Thieves should have got Yay over Cryo?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like Cryo's ridiculous. Like he's so skilled. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
I
Sorry, I'm just
honestly
trying to-
can't say.
I'm instigating here. I'm sorry.
Can't go wrong.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong. They're like you can't go wrong. Like honestly.
But
I don't
even
even know.
realistically, I don't even know if they had Yay that the results would have changed too much. Like I can't really say that Cryo was the reasons you guys didn't go further. It didn't seem like that was.
We didn't have Cryo last year, Rod. God damn it.
I don't know what Rod's on. I
No,
want
but
to come out
I
and
mean,
say
but
I
you-
think Cryo is insane.
I mean, you guys played
I'm
Red
just-
Bull.
I'm farming.
Oh yeah. Well, they won Red Bull. Yeah. That was really dominant. Like honestly, there's no reason why you should be like completely leaning one way or the other based on what we've seen of both of the players. They both have their skill sets.
Mm-hmm.
They could take over games. They're ridiculously good. Who would you pick, Spencer?
I'm retired. I don't have to think about those things, Sean.
That's what that's what I-
I mean, the end of last
Hey.
year, Yay was the best player in the world. I think that was
Yes.
pretty unanimous for everybody. There was no other answer. With all due respect to Cryo.
I think both players are insane too. Politically,
Who do you think is the best team in NA right now? Like in VCT, who has the best roster? Who's
like
winning?
in the franchise teams.
Yeah, and we won't even. You might be proved wrong after locking because like the matchups are a little bit squirrely. Like C9 is playing Paper Rex first round. That's kind of fucked.
Yeah, that's tough.
Sentinels playing like Fnatic first round. That's also fucked. So like, who do you think is gonna end up being the best team with time?
Either 100 Thieves. It's 100. I'm gonna say 100 Thieves Sentinels or C9, but that's already over half the teams.
God damn.
So-
Cheating.
Man. I mean,
You're
100
leaving out a
Thieves,
big one, in my opinion.
Who?
NRG. Remember, they still have the core of the
That is
best
true.
NA team. They might not have the star MVP player, but they have the IGL and they have, the two extremely great support players. And they could both frag out themselves. So I think that energy is being overlooked right now by a lot of people.
Nah.
I
you're
definitely
wrong.
see them.
100 Thieves. Asuna and Cryo going to carry. Heard it here first.
We're probably all wrong, and that Loud is actually amazing. And then their new players are just going to dominate.
Mhm.
Loud is still going to be the best. I mean, they're the champions. Why wouldn't they not be? They might have lost Saucy and Pancata, but
Pancata's the GOAT.
still got
After
Ostas.
watching him play, losing Pancata has to be like such a blow. I don't know what like that team was like in scrims, but I watched Saucy and Pancata, just the way they move around, like they come. Those guys are so impactful. I can't wait to see what Loud looks like without them.
How good is their English to play with NA players? That's what I don't know. I don't.
Don't know about Pancata, but I spoke with Saucy at the event, the Ludwig Turk thing,
Mhm.
and his English is really, really good. So much so that I was asking him questions about the Premier system because I know it's in Brazil, like Leo was saying, and I was like,
Mhm.
this is one of the only people that can tell me what it's like. I'm gonna ask him some questions, and he was just, yeah, like those are obviously not canned answers he's giving, and he was perfectly fine. Like his English was great.
Okay.
I don't think they're going to have communication issues. I just have this feeling it might end up being a similar situation to MIBR with Tarek and Stewie, where obviously they're a great team on paper. They're a championship level team on paper. They're going to play well, but they may have issues, kind of what we saw at the Invitational. And if they don't get off to a good start and they start losing some of the first games, it could snowball. And that they might start having problems if it does not go well to begin with. Especially for the Loud guys who just came off a championship run with their own countrymen. if if things start going bad, and maybe they're like, we don't want to play with these American players or whatever. I don't know. I just get the same kind of feeling we might have that type of situation happen again.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. Every time a team wins champions, now twice, both times the roster just explodes. This time it was kind of, it was kind of in their own hands, but even like after Ascend won the first champions, like I think it's no news now. Like we were talking to CNED, we almost got CNED for the start of last year after they won champions. So I don't know what it is. Maybe you win a championship and your whole team, all these like dead teams walk in, just wins these championships, and now next thing you know, just everyone's on different rosters. Kind of weird. I feel like when is it, Sean? When do you think we're gonna get an Astralis era? Who's gonna have the first era?
Dude, it'll be hard to have an era in this game. It'll be so hard. I feel like it would have to come from like a stack team, like Sentinels, Liquid. Have to be.
What?
I don't know. It could be like 100 Thieves with like the young Zoomies, like
The Zoomies.
Yeah, it's gonna have to be a team like that, like just completely stacked, or a team like 100 Thieves that has like Zoomies and a nuts coach that just always has them ahead. Yeah, it has to be one of those things.
No, we're gonna talk about it as we get closer to lock-in. If I had to pick a team right now with the best chance of winning, it is Loud. I really think Loud has the best chance of winning this next event. They already won champions. Look, I hear you. They lost 2 incredible players. But from what I've seen and heard, they got really good replacements. And I really do think they have the best chance of being that team.
Let me guess. You've seen or heard from people in the Loud organization based on their scrims.
Scrimbucks.
Scrimbucks?
This is a slasher take.
Maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit.
Nah, dude, I can't wait for one of these teams like DRX or PaperX, like one of these teams to just figure it all out, and then they're just going to dominate for a long time, potentially. They're on the cusp. I just feel like their mid rounds are a little bit sketch. Maybe because they don't have like the experience in CS and like 5v5 tac shooters like the other regions do. So they don't have those voices like in their communities. But when they figure that shit out, it is over. Like it is over. Like I don't know. Like they have grown, so those regions have gotten so much better so quickly. That's probably your Astralis, like coming out of that, like one of those regions.
You think so?
We'll see.
Oh yeah, we know what NA is like in esports. We're gonna fall off real soon. We'll get all the viewership though. Don't worry.
It really is just so hard. There's never been more parity in a competitive FPS esport. Not Counter-Strike, not Rainbow Six, not Quake. Like every different major region has had 2 or 3 top tier S tier teams that could win a championship. And we've never really had that before. So it's going to be so difficult for any one team to win back-to-back tournaments, especially because we only have 3. There's so few tournaments to really have a run like that anyway.
Yeah,
Counter-Strike, there's 30 tournaments.
The problem in this game is that the meta is just changing so quickly and so drastically that, like one meta you're playing a chamber and and a jet, and then the next meta that chamber has to be playing like a sentinel agent, or you're running like double duelist even. Like it's the complexion of your team is so different at that point that it's very hard to imagine a team being extremely dominant for a long amount of time, especially given how insane the scene is right now with skill. Like the scene is just stacked with skill. I don't know. I have a hard time seeing a team being like Astralis in this game.
Well, as we get closer to lock-in, we'll be doing a huge bracket preview. We'll be doing picks for every matchup. We'll see who we really think is going to be winning the first event of the year. Okay. Wrapping up, final question as we approach 4 p.m. Eastern. It's been great to do this with you guys, by the way. Thanks for doing this with me.
Hello,
Sean, Spencer.
Oh, wow. No problem, man.
I've had a really good time, especially because Josh is no longer here. having a much better time now. I'm really feeling the emotion.
He looks a lot happier in his picture.
True.
So final question. We're going to have the final days of LCQ tonight and tomorrow. Stewie's team, another heartbreaker in the upper bracket. They've had 2 or 3 heartbreaking 2-1 losses, like 13-11, 13-10, final map for Stewie, Braxton, Wardell, and co. Who do you guys have qualifying as the final 2 teams in the NALCQ?
Jeez, dude. Yeah, I've been watching this, and I saw that game last night. Squirtle Squad has some hitters. They have shooters on that team. Holy shit. I feel like, despite that, though, I think OR Esports is going to come out of the upper bracket. What do you think, Spencer?
I think Squirtle Squad.
Yeah?
I want to see the Squirters.
That's a really never say that again. I think that's a banger matchup, though. Like, we don't see that till tomorrow, though.
Mm-hmm.
And in the lower bracket, I kind of think the nation can run it until they come across the loser of that upper bracket game. Ooh, I can't believe only 2 teams make it out. So it's either going to be both teams from this upper bracket making it through, in my eyes, or the nation stealing it from whoever loses the upper bracket game. That's the only way I can see this playing out.
Spencer?
I will definitely say the Squirters for one of them. I think they make it to the upper bracket for sure. And I mean, you're asking 2 old heads about who's going to make it through out of the lower bracket, and one team has Brax and Stewie on it. Like, of course, it's going to be the Squirters and the nation as well.
We are unanimous. I know it's recency bias, but Adder might be the best player in the world.
Mm-hmm.
He's pretty insane.
Was insane yesterday. I don't know if that's a regular thing. I'm really not so aware of his play, but he looks incredible. So much so that I'm also picking Squirters, and we can't not pick the nation. We have to.
Yeah.
We're all indebted to picking the nation. We need Stewie, Brax, and Wardell in challengers. It will not be the same if they don't qualify, especially because they've come so close. Every match they've lost has been 2-1, 13-10, 13-11, final rounds, blown leads, like losing 3v2s and 3v1s and clutch situations, like really hurtful rounds. Like in that previous game yesterday, they were up by like 3 or 4 rounds. They had like Viper ult up and they got timing, and then, SS went on a run, and I really want those guys to qualify. So
I want them to qualify too, but they definitely have their backs against the wall because Spencer can probably agree with this. When you're on these teams that have like the notoriety, like 100 Thieves, and this happened to us in the open qualifiers, and it probably happened to Spencer too when he was on 100 Thieves, all of your games are streamed. All of them, because the TOs bleed you for those views. Like they need those views. So if you look at all of the nation's games, they're all streamed. But then if you go and look at their opponent for this next matchup, Sonics, none of their games are streamed. I just checked, not a single one. So like they have 0 VODs to work with. But Sonics could literally have a fucking database of everything Stewie likes to do in the 18 games of bind that he's played in matches in the last 2 weeks. Like that's a huge advantage for the people going against the nation. That it doesn't get talked about enough in these like challenger brackets and like open qualifiers and stuff.
It's not fair
when all the games aren't streamed. It's a huge problem with like, it being not fair. It is so unfair.
And honestly, you know what fixes that is an in-game replay system. Because then at least if there's no stream, then there's always the demo.
Well, that's why I asked about like why is the challenger system so different? Because Leo was talking about how like every game is on like a single stream and everyone gets the same watch time, but like the challenger league is just so different. Like even the open qualifiers last year for VCT were just brutal.
By the way, speaking of replays, I can say on this show that we will have game director Anna Donwin on this show in the near future.
Oh,
So
that's so high.
So
That's
we
huge.
can ask all about where are our replays, where are our demos, where's our better deathmatch mode, and a whole lot more things that we're thinking about in the game.
That's huge. All right.
All right.
All right, Rod, sign us off.
All right. Thanks for everyone for coming out and watching. Thank you for Toast for coming on and talking to us. Thank you for Leo for talking to us. Everyone go follow Leo Faria on Twitter, LH Faria on Twitter, LH Faria on Twitter, and most of all, Razor and Sarcopels for producing this show, staying up all night, making graphics, making lower thirds, making the scenes, live producing it, helping everyone get their camera set up, helping everyone get the same production set up, even though, we hit a little bit of a snafu. They have worked so hard to help us make this happen. Everyone go follow those on Twitter. Huge thank you to both of you folks for helping us out. It really is appreciated. We could not have made this show without you two.
Yes, absolutely. They carried us through this morning. Sarcopels _RAZUR.
Yeah, Razor has an underscore. Is it the beginning or the end?
Yeah, it's the beginning. I'm looking at, and then Sarcopels, SARCOPLS.
Razor with a U, by the way.
Yes.
With a U.
With a U.
I mean, we should just have them write over us right now with text. Like, I'm sure they could figure it out. Like,
Yeah, production,
Just
promote
write it
your
on the
shit. Yeah,
Yeah,
write
just
your
boom.
shit. Right over Steel's face. Put your tags right over Steel's angry face.
All right.
And that's the
Um,
first requirement to get your gun buddy from Rod. You have to
No.
be following both.
Have
So
to be following both of those, and then DM Slasher SLASHER on Twitter.
So it is not going to take us another month or two to do the show. We are going to do this next week. We
I'm
are
down.
doing this show next week. It will either be same day Friday, or we might move it to Thursday, Wednesday, but it's going to be the same time because we're scheduling around Steel's Scrim schedule so he can win challengers and get into Ascension and then get into VCT. So same exact time next week, either Thursday or Friday. We'll update on the socials, which I'm kind of using again.
if you root for Steel to lose, that's not good because he'll actually try harder if he loses. So you want him to win. The more he wins, the happier he'll be, the more podcasts he'll get. So be nice to Steel, make him win. Like sabotage the other team, do whatever it takes. Then we can get more podcasts,
The more he loses, the more he yells at me, and I think people enjoy that. So you kind of win. It's a win-win situation for the viewers. Either he keeps talking shit to Slasher, who sucks, or he's happy and he still talks shit to me, but a little bit less, and he wants to do the show more.
That's actually true. He really he laid into you.
I am hurting. I am in emotional pain right now.
Rod, sign us off, dude. God
I
damn
know,
it.
right?
Thank you for watching. It's going to be on Spencer and Sean's YouTube, right? If you missed the show, clips and highlights and the full show is going to be on your YouTubes, right?
Yes, my editor said it'll be up today or tomorrow.
Fantastic.
Poggers.
See you guys next week.
Bye. Thank you.
Peace.